Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the regular board meeting of January 25th, 2024. It is now 4:07, and we'll begin the roll call.
President Cortese,
Here.
Vice President Doe,
Here.
Clerk Lay. Yeah. Member Chavez. Here. Member Herrera.
Here.
Are there any members of the audience who would like to provide public comment to the board on a closed session agenda item at this time?
I have no online public comments.
That's fine. Just, I think there, hold on, there's a thing I have to read. No, you come on up, Greg. I just have to read this thing. In-person public comment may be made in person. Oh, wait, is this for me to read? Yes. In person in the boardroom by filling out a public speaker request, which we'll get to later. It's located at the entrance of the meeting room. You may raise your hand, a virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak and offer a comment in real time. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. You may also submit comments electronically for those who want to do that. It's on the district's homepage. Okay. This isn't, Mary, is this the right one? Okay. This is what I need to read this. All right, regular and special meetings of the Board of Trustees and board study sessions are streamed live on our meeting nights and are available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district's YouTube channel listed on the district's webpage at ESUHSD.org under the quick links section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or any personal issues. Your comment will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish or Vietnamese can be heard by addressing the link and following the directions shown on the agenda and the district's website. That's it. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Clock's ticking. Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you, Vaughn, for reaching out, getting this started. We actually started, Lisa, I and Beth Kilduff started a year ago with Manuel going over this very topic of our issues on our athletic fields, our PE classrooms.
Greg, for our friends at home, could you state your name?
I'm sorry. My name is Greg Boyd. I'm the grievance chair for ESTA, and I'm also a physical education teacher. So again, thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Vaughn, for getting this. So this all kind of started last week. Tom Wynn reached out to us, and I think he's correct. This is definitely a working condition issue, because there are a number of issues that we're dealing with as PE teachers, as coaches, as athletic directors, and then more importantly, our students that have to deal with on a daily basis. At any given moment, we run, during a period up to 5 classes, 200, 300 kids at Piedmont, and some of the other sites, it's more. So our classrooms are used, and I think the dividends will return, if we start treating them like classrooms and we have that kind of vision versus sort of the subject area that's the stepchild, because it's not academic. But I'm a firm believer of health and nutrition and being in shape to harbor the mind to create better students in the classroom. So anyways, with that being said, Tom and I and Lisa met last week to kind of go over a strategy and push us more towards a working condition issue. As you know, the last few years, a few of my things, I've had a few goals before I move on. And this is the second part of that, we won't go into the other goal, but this is the second goal that I have of improving our teaching conditions as a physical educator. Oh my God, that was not 2 minutes. I'm going over, sorry. You can get the security guy to kick me. But anyways, historically, you look at our fields and I got to touch back to this and there's some names here, the Tamez brothers who coached for years baseball at Mount Pleasant. That was a field of dreams. And then you have Gelati over at Santa Teresa. You had Bill Wright at Independence, Al Sementina I coached with, another guy at James Lick at Independence, Phil Stearns. Great fields. We got to get them back to that. I think you got to look at that historically. But anyways, so the ask is, prop money coming down. We want a part of that. I don't want to ask our teachers to beg. I've had a shovel in my hand, a weed whacker. I've had rakes. I've been on a lawnmower. I'm done. I'm not going to go to a 7 o'clock meeting to beg for money. The goal is to hopefully you guys see where we're coming from and get our kids in a safe environment for part of their day. All right, I'm going to leave that with the other speakers for their 2 minutes.
Thank you. It's so I have 4 names on there, but you were all represented right there. Is that right? And then you are Michelle?
Karen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I put all
Karen,
4 of
got
our
it.
names
Okay,
on one.
okay, okay.
I put-
Go right ahead, Karen.
So Karen Gallegos, Mount Pleasant High School. Just wanted to let you know, I came out of the classroom in 2015 and into PE, and I was completely mortified at how hot the gyms are, the small weight rooms, the mat room. There was no relief for the kids from August to November, and it's only gotten worse. So with more heat waves, wildfire smoke, you name it, spare the air days, we are indoors and we're having to endure an immense amount of heat for 3 months out of the year and then back again in spring. And these are our classrooms. So we're asking the kids to exercise in this. And I think that we need to have AC in the gymnasiums for relief, just for, we took some measurements. I just want to show you. Oops. And just want to point a few of these out. So at 10 a.m. on August 30th, our gym was 81 degrees. This was a 75-degree day. 90 degrees at Silver Creek. 80 degrees at James Lick, 87 at Santa Teresa, 84 at Andrew Hill, 84 at Overfelt, and the rest were in the mid to high 70s. That's insane. So we need to do something about this. This is where the kids are for an hour out of their day and on block days longer. And bless you. Yeah. So anyway, I'm hoping that we can get this rectified. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lisa Baker.
Board members, thank you for having us. Lisa Baker, Independence High School and subject area coordinator of physical education. So as you know, we did a Williams Act as a whole district for physical education and athletics. And there were 3 main areas that after meeting with all athletic directors and teachers, the first one being the temperatures of the gyms and any indoor facility, because it's also sometimes the locker rooms, depending on the site, the weight rooms, the mat rooms where we do dance, wrestling, combatives, etc. So we are asking, the first big ask is brand new HVAC systems district-wide, which include air conditioning. And there are some other districts that are implementing it, not all, but we've always been a step ahead of the game as long as I've been with Eastside. I think we should do it too and join Campbell, and I believe Gilroy has it in their gyms and indoor facilities. Our second big ask, like Greg, why didn't you mention me as a longtime good coach? I coached Yerba Buena and Evergreen softball for 20 years. I never had field issues, ever. And I would go out to my practice field, run my practices. Game days, my fields were lined, my fields were perfect. I don't know what's happened in the last 10 to 15 years, because that's as long as I've been at Indy. The fields are full of gopher holes. They are unmanageable. Coaches don't know what to do. I coach girls flag football at Indy this past fall, and I took a picture of our fields. We could not set up a 30 by 60 to practice. So because there were so many holes, and I have pictures of them real quick, I would go and set up cones on every hole so our girls would not fall in and break an ankle. And I don't know why. And our third ask, sorry, I'm over time, is some type of shade that is permanent on the pool decks, because we have now a lot of parent complaints coming more and more. Why is my kid who cannot be in the pool because perhaps it's that time of the month or an injury, they're sitting in the hot sun, and we cannot do easy ups. Teachers don't have time to put easy ups, plus they blow in the wind. We need a permanent structure. We also sometimes the rain comes at unexpectedly. There's nowhere to put the kids in the rain. So we are just asking for humane conditions. And I think it's not too much to ask. Okay. And then I want to hand you guys the fields. And this is just like a 30-yard area at Indy.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have Michelle Sinceri-Layton.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. I am Michelle Sinceri-Layton from Evergreen Valley High School. I'm the department chair. Before I forget, I want to say that Tom, Lisa, and Greg will be walking all of the campuses to check out to see what's going on with the gyms, the fields, the pools, so that you all can have an idea of what is really needed with somebody from the district, as well as our SAC, subject area coordinator, and our grievance person from ESTA. For us at Evergreen Valley, we're the newest school, newest 22 years old. I've been there since we opened. I came from Silver Creek before that. I'm a Silver Creek grad. I remember sitting in the small gym, taking the SAT test at Silver Creek when I was a student, and it was freezing cold in the gym trying to take that SAT test. We were bundled. We didn't have enough tissue to keep our noses from dripping all over our page. And this is 34 years later. I graduated in 1990 from Silver Creek. I'm now at Evergreen. We need something. We need something better for our students and for our teachers. We shouldn't have to walk out worrying about where we're going to step on a field without twisting an ankle, a knee, etc. We should be able to go out to the pool and teach. And the kids that can't get into the pool because maybe it's their monthly cycle or what have you, they shouldn't be sitting out in the blazing sun. They shouldn't be getting rained on. Okay, and our gyms right now, if you go in the small gym at Evergreen Valley, it's freezing. It's like an ice box. Every time it rains, something clicks off in the heater and it doesn't turn on. And it's blowing the cold air into the small gym and the large gym as well. But right now, the small gym is really unbearable. So I invite you to come to our schools. I'm glad Tom will be joining and checking things out. But you really should come out if you haven't yet. And I heard that you've gone out. Thank you. So we ask, please give us some of this money and don't ask us to go to our school site councils. It should be equal across the board. Mount Pleasant shouldn't get less than Independence because their site council didn't vote for it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for being here and sharing and for all you do for our kiddos. Nothing else, Mary or Glenn? No other additional comments? Okay. Well, at this time, the board will recess to closed session. Right, we are resuming open session at 6:42, and we will begin with 3.02, the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, moving on to 4.01, any person may address the board on any item in the meeting agenda. Let's see. Members of the public, please submit your public comment as follows. So anyone who is here in person, public comment can be made in the boardroom by filling out a public speaker request form located at the entrance of the meeting room. They look like this. And you just fill that out and give it to our secretary. You may, if you're on Zoom, you may raise your virtual hand to request to speak and offer your comment in real time, and then you will have 2 minutes to speak. You may also submit comments electronically online before or during the meeting, accessing the agenda link to the form on the district's homepage. Please reference the agenda number in your written comments. Please note, regular and special meetings of the Board of Trustees and board study sessions are streamed live on meeting nights and are also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district's YouTube channel listed on the district's webpage at www.esuhsd.org under the quick links section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or any personnel issues. Your comment will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instructions shown on the agenda and the district's website. Okay, now move on to 5.01. This is adopting the agenda. Is there anything that we need to move out of order this evening?
Not from administration.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on. There's nothing under 6. So we will move on to a report from our student board liaison, who unfortunately is under the weather. And so we have another student governing board, executive board member.
Madam
Katie?
President,
Yes.
if it's possible, could we do 6.01 prior?
Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry. Yes, of course we can.
Not that we don't want to hear from you, Katie. We do. We got some pretty special folk in our midst. I'm gonna ask them to come up. Representatives from the informational technologies team. This is the group that when you go from one school to the other and your Wi-Fi instantly connects there. When you're hosting a meeting and you're looking to project against the wall there. When you're 3 days later looking to see what was said 90 minutes into a board meeting, there, you can go on YouTube. When you walk around our schools and see a student carrying a laptop, there. These good folk do a lot to keep us up and running. And like we sometimes say, sometimes you don't know how good they are and because of how good of work they do and not because you don't have troubles. But this is what we also know is that in terms of completing work orders and helping people work out the bugs, the system or the user error, that this team displays just a great deal of professionalism and quick response customer service. And so want to take the opportunity to thank the entire team for their work that they do. We're a massive organization, right? How many users do we have each day, right? Across our system. And currently the work is they're starting to switch on feeder districts for Access East Side so that they can access, and they did a lot of behind the scenes work to work with our feeder districts for the user IDs and the right safety protocols and getting that all worked out. So thank you. Your work is truly appreciated. We want to make sure that you know that.
Most of the crew is on either in Zoom tonight. This is the night crew, the folks that, you guys always see at the board meetings, you see Paul, but Justin, we actually didn't let him out of his little hovel because he's got to make sure this all continues to work.
He just made me the screen share user. So thank you, Justin.
So yeah, so this is who's here just working tonight. And I said, if you're here, you have to come. But the rest of the gang kind of are on virtually, and we have like a little sound file that we wanted to, so people could know what everyone does. Everyone always asks me, well, what's so-and-so do, or what's so-and-so do? So we made something for you. So
This is a very IT fashion. They created an audio file. Fantastic.
We thank the board and the super.
Give him some love. So in a second, we'll come down and you'll be able to take a picture of this with a beautiful plaque that recognizes your work in recognition of your dedication and support to the students, staff, and community of the East Side Union High School District. Thank you very much on behalf of the Board of Trustees and Administration. Thank you.
I think of IT kind of as a team of wizards. It's like, I don't know how you guys solve so many things. There's amazing brain power in the department.
Thank goodness for you too.
Okay, my apologies. I didn't have my glasses on and I didn't see that there was not a whole paragraph there, so I just apologies. Okay, now moving on, we would love to hear from Katie, who is filling in for Emily tonight as a student governing board rep. So
hello, everyone. My name is Katie Hyun, and I am part of the Student Governing Board and I have been for 3 years now. I'm serving my 3rd term as a junior at Independence. And I would like to say that I'm very happy to be part of this organization and glad to have the opportunity to speak here today. I will just give some updates about what we have been doing at our class meeting. So at the Student Governing Board meeting on Monday, we revisited the vision board we created on January. We brainstormed ideas about a variety of topics. One group of students is currently working on updating the Eastside Union High School District Student Governing Board Instagram page with information regarding the digital SAT and digital AP exams, as well as providing internship, research, and opportunities on this page. We strive to make academic information more accessible to our peers. Another group brainstormed possible college readiness resources to take place in the future to help students with college admissions. In the next few meetings, we are excited to further. Thank you.
Katie, thank you for stepping up. Okay, moving on to 8.01. This is where we can ask that any items be considered, discussed, or acted out of order.
None from administration.
Okay. Very good. All right, moving on then to 8.02. Discussion and or action to review and accept the annual financial audit report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2023, and the five bond measures, which are GEZ 2012I, 2014I technology, and the general obligation bond funds annual audited financial reports and bond performance audits. So, Dr. Huntoon, do we have like a little summary or recap or something?
Yes, good evening. So this evening, as statutorily required, before January 31st each year, you will receive and accept the audit that was conducted by I. Bailey for the 22-23 school year, or fiscal year, I should say, for both the financial audit for the district as well as 5 performance audits, and that is for the 5 bonds. They are Prop 39 audit or bonds, and so they require to have a performance audit each year. So, Mr. Escobar.
Yep. Thanks for having me today. Included in this agenda item are 6 audit reports and 2 communication letters. 5 of the reports are related to the performance and financial opinions on the bond measures. The district audit report contains opinions on the financial statements, district internal controls, state and federal compliance. I work closely with Michelle, Sylvia, and their respective teams throughout the audit. The district engages with Eide Bailly to provide opinions on the fair and reasonable presentation of the financial statements, provide a report on the compliance in accordance with government auditing standards, a report on compliance for each major federal program, and on internal control over compliance required by uniform guidance, and an opinion on state compliance. Auditors have the responsibility of expressing opinions on the audit evidence reviewed and the presentation of the financial statements, as well as with respect to compliance when reviewing related materials. Furthermore, auditors have a requirement to act ethically and evaluate any impairment to independence and disclose any such matters to all appropriate persons. Management has a responsibility to provide complete, accurate financial amounts and data to be included in the annual financial report, as well as maintaining, designing, and implementing effective internal controls over financial reporting and compliance with said laws and regulations. We performed sufficient audit procedures to support our assertions to the best of our knowledge and capabilities. Audit standards require that we communicate specific matters to the board. The financial statements report contains a clean or unmodified opinion. Though there were no financial statement deficiencies or misstatements in the financials of the bonds or the district, it was noted in that the district does have 2 matters of state non-compliance. Qualified opinions were provided on home to school transportation reimbursement and unduplicated local control funding formula pupil counts. We, as the district auditors, complied with all relevant ethical requirements. Most specifically, we have remained independent throughout the engagement, consistent with government auditing standards. We do note that the district's financials contain significant accounting estimates as it relates to self-insurance, incurred but not reported, net pension, and other post-employment benefit liabilities. In a review of the financial statements, we believe that footnotes 11, 12, 14, and 15 are the most sensitive disclosures. Notes 14 and 15 disclose the aforementioned net pension and other post-employment benefits accounting estimates based on the usage of actuarial specialists. We evaluated the key factors and assumptions used by the actuary and determined that the estimates are reasonable in relation to the basic financial statements taken as a whole. Note 11 describes the district's long-term debt activities, including required principal and interest payments for debt service. And note 12 describes the components of ending fund balances for the district. The district did not find it necessary to consult with any accountants regarding auditing and accounting matters. No significant difficulties were encountered in performance of our audit procedures or in our communications with management throughout the engagement. We did not experience any disagreements with management in performance of the audit, and these reports do not, these reports do present fairly the newly implemented GASB 96 subscription-based information technology arrangement standard. A listing of the uncorrected immaterial misstatements is included on page 4 of the attached communication letter. as it relates to the district's financial statements. During the year, we audited two major federal programs. We audited the Child Nutrition Cluster and the COVID-19 Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief ESSER program. The audits were performed in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States, government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General, and Title II Code of Federal Regulations, Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements for Federal Awards. In performance of the bond audits, we reviewed approximately 81% of the expenses for Measure G, 69 for Measure E, 50 for 2012 Measure I, 41 for 2014 Measure I, 42 for Measure Z. In review of these expenditures, we not only note the operating effectiveness of internal controls over disbursements, we review documents for compliance with ballot language of each specific measure. The audits over the measures resulted in clean or unmodified opinions. No exceptions or findings were noted in performance of the bond audits. The financial statements of the G, E, Z 2012 and 2014 I measures do not contain any significant accounting estimates. We encountered no difficulties in performance of the audits. There were no disagreements with management and no uncorrected or corrected misstatements noted. The district did not consult with other accountants about auditing and accounting matters. The financial statements of the measures do not purport to and do not present fairly the district's financial statements and should only be considered individually as standalone fund financial statements. Sylvia, Kelly, Michelle, and their teams were extraordinarily helpful in making the audit a high-quality audit. They were responsive and helpful throughout the engagements. This concludes my prepared statement.
Thank you so much. And especially happy to hear no findings for probably 9 years, ever since I've been on the board. We've had no findings in these audit reports. So that is big kudos to our staff. And thank you for your services in making sure that we're accountable to the tax-paying public that makes all of this possible. So yeah, thank you for being here. Any colleagues, any comments or questions? Okay. And then I just need a motion to accept the
Move for approval or acceptance.
oh, no, I'm getting a motion. Yeah. So I have a motion by Herrera. Okay, second by Lay. Okay, we'll start with Katie. How do you vote? Okay, great. And board colleagues? All in favor, say
Aye.
okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 8.03. This is a presentation, discussion and or action regarding exploring the possible parcel tax in November 2024 election ballot. And so we like to call up Dale Scott.
Before Dale talks to us tonight about the possibility of exploring a parcel tax, I'd just like to reiterate the fact that California has decided not to fund its high school districts equally.
Not to what?
Fund its high school students and its high school districts equally. Within our county, among our high school districts, our East Side Union High School districts receive roughly about $12,000 per student. There are districts 20 minutes from here, high school only, public districts that are being funded at rates of 16,000 per student, 18,000 per student, and 24,000 per student. The work of East Side is great. The resilience of the drive of our students is fantastic. The acumen and support of our educators is great, but our needs definitely call for additional resources and additional supports for our community. And I mean our community as a whole and all that are part of that. And so there are times that as a district like Eastside, we have to find different ways of either generating revenue, being smarter about utilizing our revenue, and working for students in ways that other districts quite simply do not have to. Tonight's presentation is part of one facet or one aspect or one way that the district and the board may choose to move forward to continue to provide the services for students. in the past couple of years, we received great numbers of dollars and during those COVID funds and good things like that. But we also hear of a state deficit that went from 68 to 38 and continues to move. So tonight's presentation, you are not being asked to approve or not approve putting a parcel tax on the ballot, but we do want to start the conversation about start it now so that we can make an informed choice of how we want to proceed as a district and a community. Dale, that was probably longer than you wanted, but here we go. Thanks for being here with us tonight.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. There is a presentation coming. Thank you. I'm actually, to the superintendent's point, there really is not a formal decision made as to what you should or should not be doing tonight. I'm going to give you two ideas as to whether, and then ask for However, it wasn't 2/3. The reason I am suggesting that you look at this now is because as we're coming up to a presidential election and you're elected officials, you know all of this, but the presidential elections simply bring out a much larger amount of voters, and the larger amount of voters, the voters that tend to vote in a presidential election are often more willing to pass a tax measure such as this than the more conservative voters that tend to vote in every election. So that's the reason I think you should be considering this. However, let's look at the next slide. Oh, we're out there already. As I said, this is a parcel tax of every parcel, every parcel that pays taxes. Now, obviously, churches and government buildings don't pay taxes. So this would be every parcel. As you can see, you have roughly 130,000 parcels in your district. Some of those are not residential, some of those are non-residential, but going across the top, you can see what that would result at the different amounts of the parcel. If you ask for a $50 parcel tax, $70 parcel tax, $90 parcel tax, obviously you can have whatever number you want. But let me just give you one quick piece of data. If you look at the parcel tax measures that have been on the ballot statewide for the last 20 or so years, and you divide those all of those parcel taxes into two buckets. And bucket one is the bucket that you are in. The districts that have never attempted a parcel tax, they're doing it for their first time, or they've tried and it hasn't passed, and so they still haven't won. That's the first bucket. And the second bucket are those districts that have passed the parcel tax, and now they're renewing the parcel tax that's on the books, maybe at a higher amount or for more years. Those new districts that are attempting that, the passage rate is somewhere between 50 and 60%. It's just tough to get those passed. But those districts that have passed it, and they're going back to the voters and asking them to renew that or to extend it, those tend to pass closer to the 90% rate. So it's really important to try to get on the scoreboard here if you're going to have this go on in years following. So that's why, even though it would be nice to have a parcel tax or maybe not nice, but it would be more profitable or more financially advantageous to you to have a parcel tax of $300 or $400 per parcel. You want to keep your sites with this information from the survey on a level that has the ability to gain voters' acceptances. So that's why we've looked at these lower amounts at this time, and we'll actually be testing various levels if we go forward. If I can go to the next slide, please. But we are captives of the calendar. So here we have the events that have to occur in order to get on this November ballot. The planning and structure for parcel tax is pretty straightforward. It's, what kind of amounts are we looking at? What amount is the term? If we did a voter survey, we want to get into the field as quickly as possible, try to talk to people in February, come back to you in March or April with those results. You would have to make a decision somewhere before, let's say, the end of July. That date depends on which county you're in, but I believe it's going to be early August in Santa Clara County. So you have to make that decision at that time. That decision would be, one, do you want to be on the ballot? Two, what is the amount? Three, what is the term, if any? Four, is there going to be a senior exemption built into it or not? So there are various questions that you're going to have to answer, but those are not be discussed yet. There's something that we can test with the survey, and you'll have a better sense of whether it's a plus or a minus as we go forward. So as I said when I started, what I'm really looking forward tonight is a nudge or a nod. We're under contract already to do the survey research, but simply, yes, Dale, go ahead and have your team start on this and bring it back as soon as you can. However, I'm happy to answer any questions regarding parcel taxes, and then I'll turn to the refunding piece.
So any questions about parcel? Go ahead.
The way I'm currently viewing it is that the window that's opened in 2024 because of the presidential election. Usually any presidential election gives you a higher voter turnout, but in 2024, I'm anticipating a historic turnout of voters. The more voters we have, the greater our odds for passing a parcel tax with 2/3. There's more, well, that's a generalization, but a survey could actually help us have some data to understand what might be the level of support, voter support, and at what level and over what term that we get it. But my inclination, just to start with, is I'm interested in the data to help us come to some kind of decision in time. The superintendent was saying in his opening remarks is something that he continues to say, and rightly so. There's a huge disparity in funding per student. And that has been especially so since 1978. Prop 13 passed and knocked out one of the legs of support for public education, which was property taxes. And it's held them to where they are. If they had not passed the same exemption for commercial properties, we would be doing better. But we've tried recently to pass a measure that would no longer exempt commercial. That didn't succeed. It seems that we do have to try at some point, and I think that one of the ways that we would need to pursue it would be with a value-added case as opposed to ongoing operations. There is a way to kind of reorder how we set program priorities and what funds what, so that the message is about value added as opposed to just give us more money. But I'm curious and I'm interested, and I'm, mostly persuaded that we ought to seek the data with voter survey.
Could you tell me in the past, how many times that east side that put the parcel tax on the ballot?
I believe it was five. Yes, 5 times that I know of.
5 times?
Yeah.
Okay, and we are not successfully passed the parcel tax?
No.
Yeah, no. I, I thought about this a lot this last few days after review the agenda. And I'm also in a small business, as right now is really big impact into the business that I am in right now. And everyone been mentioned that everything has been increased from food, from gasoline, even though insurance. And I'm kind of skeptical, even though a presidential election probably has a lot of people turn out to vote. But if we want to gambling for the money that we were not sure to put it in the ballot, the parcel tax on the ballot. So I really, concerned about it. And I have a couple of people, my customer called me up and said, I lost my job. So it's really impact me in a sense of it. If we're gonna put a parcel tax in the presidential election, I know that we have a good turnout, but we still not guarantee anything. And I don't know that we're gonna lose a couple 100,000 if the parcel tax would not pass in 2024. And are we gonna go into do another one in 2025 or 2026 or not, if we need the money for our operation? So that is what I feel kind of uncomfortable with this kind of business right now, with kind of economy, because we don't know what happened. So that's why I want to know that any other district have passed the parcel tax. And I know that the percentage is very slim, comparing, not too many districts that successfully passed the parcel tax. They passed the bond, but not parcel tax. Am I correct?
Well, in this county and including many of your feeder districts, there's been quite a bit of success. And I'll bring that back to you at the next meeting. But I do want to make sure that it's clear what is being asked tonight is not to make a decision as to whether you should have a parcel tax or not. That's time for another. What is being asked tonight is, do you want us to go out and ask the voters their opinion as to whether, and then you can use that data to make a decision as to whether you make a parcel tax. So the nod tonight is not saying I want it or I don't want it. The nod tonight is saying, yes, I would like to hear what the voters have to say, or no.
So how much does it cost, the survey? And how many thousand of phone call, how many people that generate the survey, so we can conclude, the survey in order to bring it back to the board?
The survey will be aimed at roughly 400 votes.
400 people?
400 people. That'll give a statistically accurate sample of all of the district's voters with a margin of error of roughly 4 or 5%. And that's a fairly standard number. The survey will also be provided in English, Vietnamese, and Spanish. And the cost will be roughly $20,000 would be my estimate.
Okay. one sense of me, I know that we want to give it a try to see what is the survey come back. With 400 people in our district, we have about 300,000 people that like that. I just want to be the calculation that percentage, the outcome of the survey. Yes, let's say that the outcome of the survey come back that, yeah, we should do it, because, people favor for the parcel tax. To me, I feel that, I don't know is it the right time or not, but to me, I feel so much economies right now, it's been bothering me because I've been in a small business and it's really big impact, to me and my business. So I just want to lay it out to see that is that good time to do now? Or should we wait for another 2 years? Or when really we need it? So that is my question and I'm really concerned about it. I've seen so many things, people been coming and even though it's like my business, we've been shut down the fire product. We can't even sell any fire product. And think about it, any other customer who come to my business couldn't get any fire product, then they have to go to another company and the other company will raise the rate that they have to do it. So that is my opinion.
So, Member Lay, if you pretty much already know that even if the survey results come back and strongly indicating that we would have a fairly good chance of succeeding, but even then you would still oppose it, then tonight your vote would be no, we won't even gather the data.
That's how I feel because with 400 people in survey, we have 300,000 people, even though they've come back favor for the parcel tax. I myself, I don't think I would like to go through with the survey as well as with the parcel tax on the ballot.
Well, I'm not clear that I would support going forward, but I am clear that I would like to take the pulse of the voters. And the 400 is a standard statistical sample for this size of a community. It's within 4 or 5% margin of error, as I'm understanding. Right.
Yeah, because, and also in the past, we have so many districts as well as our east side has been tried with parcel tax. I remember one is $98, another time is $49. We can't even pass. I know even though we have a small percentage, but to me, this presidential election is going to be huge impact on both sides. So I just feel like I didn't want to go through this. My personal, and that's how I feel.
Yes. Yeah.
I just want to get a couple of clarifications. You spoke earlier about the senior exemptions. Can you elaborate, please?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Senior exemptions. Can you elaborate how would that work? It will be the age of the owners and how many parcels that would be impacted.
It's unclear how many parcels that would impact because it's not a set senior exemption. It's an exemption that is offered to voters that are over age 65, and then they have to submit the application to be exempted. So some people decide they want to do that. Some people decide they don't want to do that. But in general, it's roughly runs somewhere around 10%.
If you can go back to this previous screen where you it lists the number of parcel tax that did not pass. Were your firm involved in any one of those? And I don't mean this as a criticism, by the way. I just want to get a clarification on the background. If you were involved in your firm involved, so that I can ask.
I don't believe so.
I'm sorry.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna ask about those particular the survey then connected to the because I was just gonna rephrase the question by Trustee Lay was asking what was the survey result that led the board to vote for the parcel tax. but clearly none of them have passed. So that was what I'm trying to drive. I was trying to get that understanding. But if your phone was not involved, it will be
I'd have to go
difficult
back
for
and
me
look
to
at
ask
the
you.
ones at 94. I don't recall that, but I know more recently we have not. However, the survey research that we have done for the district's general obligation bonds has been generally quite accurate.
Yep.
Um,
It
so,
has.
so, and to all of the comments made, if the survey comes back and it's not a winner, there's not going to be a recommendation. to move
Have we ever
forward.
had not a winner?
I don't know. I don't know what these surveys were.
So I do recall most of these, that the board was not going to do a Hail Mary effort because it just costs too much to care. We were within striking distance. It wasn't a sure thing by a long shot, but we were within striking distance, and did we want to go for it? And each time we chose to go for it, realizing that it was 50-50 at best. And the general climate in the state and in the nation was, these are not succeeding, but some are. You know, mostly not succeeding, but some are. And the data tells us we're within striking distance. Go for it. And in earlier times in this district, we've really been up against it financially. We needed more finances, more funding, and we thought, well, we can at least try.
I can certainly see that in 2010, I think the district was in dire need of financial support because of obviously the 2000 crash recessions, right? And 2004 was at that time was a record historic number as well. At that time, I know those records have been surpassed, with a certain presidential candidate on the ballot. But I just hoping get an understanding of how accurate was our estimation was, because at least on 1994, that does not look like striking distance, in my opinion.
Oh, I don't recall the specific circumstances of that year. But we were not doing Hail Mary things. The data said we have a shot, and the last one was heartbreaking because we just came within a whisker. And unfortunately, there was disagreement among some of our stakeholders that they wanted the board to commit in advance what it would be used for. And when we declined to do that, they did not extend their support. And it was that margin, I think, that made the difference.
I always appreciate data, right? And I want to go back to the superintendent's point of got a situation in our hands, right? And we've been talking about budget and our just finances for a little bit of time. And I think the responsible thing for us to do is to take everything into account and make the most informed decision. I don't know that I'm for like a parcel tax or a bond, but I am for having information. I am for having options. And my initial gut would be like, let's see let's see what we learn. And in that process, other things might come up, other opportunities might come up. But Trustee Lay, like I am holding what you're saying, and I think that is part of the information that we hold when we make decisions to figure out as a collective which way makes most sense to support our district in moving forward in this situation. Again, it doesn't have to be this, but I think, if we have this information, this could be helpful in making the most informed decision.
Well, I agree with you. That's I've been through 2010, 2018, the parcel tax, and I know that we did have a survey. I mean, I really trust Dale Scott. Agency did a wonderful job, but the skeptical for me is out there. It's just so many things happen right now. Everything has, from food, from gas, everything has been increased, and I feel the people out there, even though say, okay, $49 or $39, it is still impact to them. So that's why to me that I know that it will be impact to them. why do we want to still want to go through? But I know that we need money. We need the money for the operation, for the budget for 2025. But I could not really let it go because inside of me, I feel that maybe it's not the right time.
Trustee Levy, if I may ask you, just for my understanding,
Sure.
are you concerned about the probability of success? Or are you more concerned about the impact that the partial tax would have on the residents due to inflations and economic concern, as you has articulated earlier?
Well, I know about the survey. When talking about 400 people that we're gonna do a survey, taking a look of the whole east side, the 300,000, I don't know, maybe like what, 125,000 household. I mean, just take a look at that. Would it be, I mean, I know that even though the data come back, we still are not guaranteed, right? We're gonna gambling, and I don't want to gamble. I mean, I know it's 20,000, but still it's the money from east side. When in my heart, I don't think maybe it's not the right time because just so many things happen in the industry right now. It's just so many impact about the cost, the increase of tax. Everywhere people talk about it. And I feel that, I don't want to see that happen in the 2024, this election in November, because people gonna look back and I'd rather see 2 more years from now, yes, we do need it. And we would do that. And okay, if we don't have this kind of money, we did try, yes, then we're gonna have to find another avenue. We're gonna have to go to a layoff people. But it just right now, we've been failing so many years, so many times. And to me that, I just could not let it go this time.
I'm just trying to get an understanding because if the result come back and let's just say, for the sake of argument's sake, it is within striking distance, but not a guarantee, right? A striking distance, as we had in the past, would you vote yes or you vote no on it? Because obviously there's no point spending 20,000 if you're still going to vote no on it.
Yes, I tell you that I'm gonna vote no because I don't think it's gonna worth it, especially gambling right now. And I know this is only one of my vote, but I want to say out loud that how I feel when I vote because it's been impacted for the people around me and just been impacted into me when I vote, for this partial tax. And I'm sure that the survey come back is going to be much more favor to have, to have a partial tax on the ballot. But to me, in my mind, that I just don't want to gamble for this.
Can I offer some information to the board? Unlike a general obligation bond, which takes a 2/3 majority of the board, 4 out of 5 votes, a partial tax takes a simple majority. So there would have to be at least 3 members in support in order to place it on the ballot, not 4, or not a unanimous vote either.
Yeah.
It's a simple majority.
If I'm understanding correctly, is that the partial tax just required a simple majority of the board to put on the ballot, but the passing of the part then required 2/3 majority of the voters
Correct.
of the electorate. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Correct.
Well, yeah, and one thing I'd like to say is that I do hear where you're coming from, Member Lay, and I appreciate your mindfulness about that. But I think that there are an awful lot of generous people in this community that have been supporting us in many ways for many years. And to me, this survey is a way for them to tell us whether it's something that they are willing to invest in the lives of our children or not. Like I don't like to make decisions for people. And so I feel like this is a way for us to find out, allow them an avenue to tell us whether this is something they're willing to engage in. And I also hear, well, can't we wait a couple of years? Well, I think we've heard that the window really for passing a parcel tax is in this general presidential election, which we won't see again for 4 more years.
And not at this
So
turnout that is anticipated.
Well,
it's also
I
true.
agree. It's still on both sides though, is just not on one side, but I actually, I agree. I mean, I agree with you, but just to me, the survey, I'm sure the survey come back is favor.
I'm not
sure.
sure of
No, no,
that
no.
at all.
No,
I
yeah, I'm not
because
either.
It's been in the past. The survey is been in the past. That's why the board vote for it. If the survey come back is not favor, I don't think any board member would like to vote for it. They've been come back with the result that they are favor to pass the parcel tax. So that's why it's been in the past, how many years already. That's why even though the survey come back, yes, I know that it will be favored for sure. Okay, but to me, I know I just only one vote. I just want to advocate what I think, how I feel.
Sure.
So that's all. I know
Yeah,
that.
and
for-
I will say I have not been part of 4 of 5 of those, but I was here in 2018, and I can tell you that we really, I've been part of many campaigns outside of this school district, and I know what it takes to win a campaign, and we did not do what it takes to win a campaign in 2018. So I would say if we got the survey back and it indicated that we had a chance, I would not advocate putting it on the ballot unless we were committed to doing what it takes to win.
Yep. So, Madam President, all perspectives. I mean, I'm hearing everything's being spoken tonight. I'd like to put a motion on the table to authorize the administration to pursue the implementation of a survey that would come back as a report to the board regarding viability of a parcel tax in November of 2024.
Mr. Doe, do you have some comment to add, or you want to? Okay, so we got a motion and we need a second.
Okay.
Okay, motion by Herrera, second by Chavez. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And I'm sorry, I should ask Katie first, sorry.
Favor of this motion.
Okay, Katie's in favor. Let the record show. All right, so we have all in favor. So I heard who's in favor, all opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, so that's 4 to 1 in favor of pursuing the voter survey around for parcel tax.
All right, I'd like to just take,
I just want to say that I respect the decision and I have a confidence with your agency, Scott, but it just in my feeling and what I vote more consciously in my mind, that's all. So I really respect this.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you
know
for
that
that.
it's come back as good.
let me just, if I may,
Go ahead, yeah.
I just bring up a little bit nicer news. If I can go to slide 7, now I'm going to talk about giving money back to the taxpayers. I think this slide is a fascinating slide. On the next slide, please. I went back and I looked at the amount of funds that have been saved from the taxpayers by doing refinancings over the past 20 years or so. This district has lowered the borrowing costs of its voters by over $74 million over that time. $74 million is the size of many districts' entire bond program. And you've done it by just reducing the interest costs as they happen incrementally. There are a number of pages here. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through, but I think we've come across a number of opportunities. We estimate in this current market that savings could be anywhere from another $10 to $25 million. So I would like to have the board give us the direction to go out and continue to seek that, come back with you with the necessary information that you can then look at to determine whether that's going to make sense. And if it makes sense, then that you would have saved possibly even $100 million then in
So
total.
does this require an action by the board to continue doing what we're doing?
No, I would just like to have the board say, yes, Dale, go out and as long as it doesn't cost us anything, go out and
Yes,
see. if you
Dale,
can
go
find-
out and save us money.
That's what the motion was.
Dale,
Go, Dale, get to work.
As I said, the last time you saw is a very similar slide the last time you were here, and I have said, always lead with that. saving the public money.
I should have flipped those two. Okay, thank you very much.
Public, we are hoping to save.
And thank you
But-
for refreshing our, understanding of the good work that's being done. Really, it's a team and you're part of the team.
Thank you very much.
So before you leave, I did have at least a couple questions about the parcel tax. Should we pursue that? So I realized that the amount of revenue generated would depend on what the rate that we go out for, and part of that decision will be made by the feedback we get from the survey. But how long would the parcel last? Like,
Again, that is up to you. Now,
oh,
there's,
that's part of the language too? I
there
mean,
are some-
what are they typically?
well, they typically are in the 3 to 8 year period, but there are a number of districts that have it in perpetuity.
Oh, wow.
And some
Okay.
districts have it in perpetuity with inflation factor to go up. So it's really a decision up to you. And we'll be testing that information.
You'll be
also.
testing that as well. Okay, very good. And then I had asked staff earlier the question about how much does it cost to put it on the ballot? And they thought it was around 700 to 950,000. Does that sound about right?
That's my estimate. This is the county's costs. That's my estimate. The county is, as you can imagine, fairly swamped right now with the upcoming election. But based on numbers we've seen in the past, based on information from other districts, I'm estimating that'll be in that range.
Then about $1 million when
That should,
something like this.
it'll be a little bit less because it's a presidential ballot. So the cost will go down slightly.
Can we get that as part of the study? Because that might influence my decision, depend how much it's gonna cost us.
I'm sorry, can we get it?
As part of the presentations, when you come back.
Sure, we'll put
because
the question
that
to the
might
county.
affect how I may
course.
perceive the vote.
Of course.
Thank you.
No, you're not leaving it, right? There's another thing you were gonna talk about?
No, that's it.
Wait, go to slide 6. Yeah, I just want to hear you talk.
Why is
Just
it-
kidding.
you gotta be careful.
No, I mean, you're great, but no,
So-
I slide 6.
Slide 6. I think I covered slide
No,
6.
go ahead.
Yeah, slide 6 is what he was referring to in slide 7 about possibly refunding
Oh.
bonds. And so it,
But
to his point, over the course of our bond program, we've refunded.
See.
And some people go, oh, that's so the district gets more money. And it's like,
No, it
no,
saves people
it
money.
saves
Yes.
taxpayers money. And
Yes,
so
yes, yes.
I most likely, once when we were talking about this, is like it, over the life of our bond, we'll probably have saved taxpayers potentially more than we're gonna go out and ask for a parcel
Right.
tax, this in 2024. And
Yeah.
so that's part of the narrative here, but also to see if just
Yeah.
to do some investigation as to whether it's worth for us to go again for financing for savings for taxpayers.
Got it. Okay. I for some reason thought it was I mean, it is two separate things, but as you're saying that out loud, I'm wondering if there is a way, Dale, for us, if we haven't already, to get that message out to people so that they could realize that the way that the district has gone about with these bonds and, when we've asked for money, like we've really thought about it and we've been very thoughtful to save them money, right? So that they can say, okay, well, it's not just this, but the way that the district approaches it is in a really responsible way. So, I mean, that has to matter, but
Yes, I think this slide is evidence of that. And to the board president's point, this is something that needs to be communicated
right.
as you're going forward.
And there's a person in this room that's nodding his head that is aware that they'll be working on that.
Oh, there has to be a way.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
you.
We look forward to seeing you again soon. Okay, 9.9 has nothing under it. We're now at 10.01. Do we have anyone? Oh, I have no speaker requests. We have anyone online?
No one online.
Anyone on Zoom?
None.
Okay, then we will just skip that whole thing altogether. Nothing under 11. 12, we have 12.01, which is presentation or discussion regarding school site progress and program highlights, which we love, by the way. We're so happy you're here. So first we will hear from Dr. Adriana Rangel from Mount Pleasant High School.
This is actually going to be
Oh,
a
you're gonna-
combined
Are you gonna
presentation, so
tag
both,
team?
yes.
Okay, very
Both
good.
principals will be
And
coming up.
so then, and Noemi Ramirez, principal of Foothill High School. So welcome to our esteemed principals.
If there's any confusion about the source of the information, you'll see that the Cardinals are red and the Mustangs are yellow and
And
they
they're
come dressed
color-coded.
appropriately. So just follow the speaker. We'll be fine.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having us tonight. I would like to thank.
For the purposes of
people at
our
home,
viewers, could you
we-
speak closer to the mic? And if you have to,
Perfect, thank
move it
you.
around, feel
Hello,
free.
can you hear me? Little short,
Yeah, put it down.
like a rock concert, okay? Okay. Thank you. Good. Okay, I guess I lost it. I'm good, okay. Thank you. Good evening and thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and present. We would like to share what we have been doing for the past couple of years.
You
And
have a very strong voice, so hold it a little bit away from you.
Okie dokie. Yes, I guess I could have been a singer.
True.
Okay. So today, Mount Pleasant and Foothill are collaborating, presenting a continuum of college and career to support our students from comprehensive high school to a smaller continuation school to maximize the options for students for graduation.
And so one of the collaboration parts that you'll see today is that you're going to see a comprehensive school model, and then you're going to see Foothill High School, your continuation school. And so we will strive to ensure that every single one of our students in our district are serviced. And so you're going to see that continuous service here today. And although we are different, we are the same. And if you know the population at Foothill, we have every single one of our community members represented at Foothill. So they come from all our schools. So you'll see, and then if you ask the question, I'm like, why are you collaborating? Because we are one family. And so even though we come from different neighborhood, and yes, even though I'm a Orfel graduate, I appreciate and acknowledge that we are continuing the service, and that's why we're collaborating today. And so we're talking about specifically, how do we ensure that equity continues and that all students are welcome? And there's a period. And that's what we're going to talk about today. You know about the strong and areas of growth that we have in our students, and we strive for that in each one of our schools. And that we, as adults, positively respond for every single one of the students here. And I hope that you see that throughout our presentation, and that all students are engaged in a high level of task, and that we honor the fact that we are a public servant and we're serving them in our community.
Yes, okay. So in this slide, we see the framework that we use at the district, which is MTSS. And I would like to particularly highlight the second bullet, which is how we monitor student progress to make decisions about further instruction and intervention. That is particularly something that I would like to highlight for Mount Pleasant, and you'll see it along the presentation.
And so, and you know, we ensure all students that are struggling, and Foothill is our tier 2 model of that. Then we make sure that we offer them all the necessary items so they can continue on their path towards graduation.
Now we go to our missions, and the mission of Mount Pleasant is to make a difference in the life of our students, and we do that by, 3 pillars: offering an academically challenging curriculums and a supportive and safe environment that prepares them for college and career.
And when you look at Foothill, we want to make sure that we create a positive and safe learning environment for our students, where they feel the support of a connected community, the empowerment of self-belief, and a new faith that they can be successful in education and their life path, because Mustangs take the reign.
Now we're going to show a little bit of our profiles as the schools. For Mount Pleasant, we have a population of 1,181, and you're going to see that our 9th grader is our smaller cohort, and our largest cohort is our 12th grader. Our graduation rate is 91.7, and you can see that we have emergent bilinguals. 26% of our students are emergent bilinguals. We have 18% of our students have different abilities. 64% of our families are considered economically disadvantaged. We have a 0.2 of foster youth. 7% McKinney-Vento, and 1% migrant youth. What I want to highlight here also is the number of ethnicities and languages spoken at Mount Pleasant. We have approximately 15 ethnicities and like 16 different languages. Our school is like a little bit of like a United Nations.
Well, one quick question about that. You said the graduation rate is 91.7, and then underneath it said cohort 2022?
Yeah, that's the latest data that we have available.
So when you say cohort, are you just saying that's the graduation year, or are you saying that we have this district defined cohort, which is all students who start with us the first day and then?
Yeah, that's our cohort graduation for that.
That's what this is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know that you've probably seen my presentation, and there's a little definition of cohort that I'll explain a little bit later because it quite, I need to clarify it for Foothill, but we'll come to it in a little bit. So for Foothill High School, we are a small school, a beautiful school, and we have about 280 students, currently on our staff, and we are responding to the fact that we have identified about 2/3 of them are disadvantaged. About 20% or so are considered McKinney-Vento or homeless youth. And then we have English learners as part of our makeup. We do have a 28.4% cohort, and we're going to explain a little bit about the cohort as we look at the data in a little bit. And at our school, we do have a little bit of diversity, but the reality is for our school, that's who we're servicing and who is choosing to come to Foothill High School or choosing for this to be their opportunity for area of growth is 90% Hispanic. And that's who we service right now. And if you can look at our numbers as well, we take students that want to volunteer. We do have some students that are placed there, but overall, the majority of our students currently are 80% 12th graders. And then we have a few juniors that made the transition bravely over to Foothill High School and start their different pathway there. And so we have an opportunity, big opportunity with our graduation rate. And that's what we have there. But I'll explain the cohort thing in a little bit.
Okay, we go to a familiar slide that you have seen for other schools, and that is our slide for promise of college and career. And as you can see, our numbers have been dwindling down a little bit. So there's an opportunity, there's an area of opportunity there for us that to maximize the options for graduation, especially for the target groups that we're working at. And you're gonna see that in a little bit.
And so for Foothill High School, we do have graduates, and they're going to be a little bit different, and I'm going to explain that in another slide. But so those are the number of kids that have graduated and completed their diploma. That does not equate necessarily to our graduation rate because it's a cohorted, so I'll explain that in a little bit. But we celebrate the fact that we had 103, not only in 2018, but also in 2021. And then, it went down a little bit to 61 and 91 in 2023. And then we have, of those students, which ones are being reported that they're going to a junior college. And our students are going to a junior college. And so that's what we have the data showing us. And those are the numbers of the kids that have been successful in completing their high school graduation diploma with us and what they're doing after college. And so you can see that's what our students are going towards. And so not only do our students understand the Eastside Promise, because they've come from our comprehensive high schools and they understand the importance of meeting and being prepared for the next step. We also, in addition to the Eastside Promise, which is a grand selling point for Eastside Union High School District graduates, we also let them know about the California Promise, the California Community Promise, which says if you're from, and you saw that we have about 75% disadvantaged youth or first generation, you can go to college for free. And that is including, that's what we talk about for our students that are graduating from high school. And if that's the path they want to go towards, that's what we're talking about. So we talk about the Spartan Eastside Promise, because if a student wants that, then we transition them back to the comprehensive high school, or the California Community College Promise that is important for our kids that they understand and know.
Okay. And so now we're going to look at some data and what we're doing at the 3 different levels. What Mount Pleasant is working on is in improving the graduation numbers for our multilinguals and our students that have IEPs. That's true for all 3 levels.
And then when you look at areas of growth or improvement for us, we have the graduation improvement rate, and that's a school-wide. And if you know we have 90% of our students are Hispanic or Latino, we're not going to exclude only 10%. So we're going to look at a school-wide 4-year data. The 1-year data, we're looking at attendance. Can we have the students attend school and then we have them push them forward? And that's a school-wide improvement. And ongoing one-time data is the early warning system specifically for attendance. And because that's what we're looking at, and you'll see the data of the why we went that route.
Okay, so this is the graduation data for Mount Pleasant. So you can see that we graduated 91.7% of our students in the year 2021, 2022. But if you see at the rest of the other groups that we're focusing on, which are multilingual students and our students with IEPs, you can see a difference. You know, because we're graduating them at a 77% for our multilingual students and 82% for our students with IEPs. So that's why that's our area of focus. The actions that we are putting in place in order to improve the graduation of our students in the cohorts that we're working on include an extensive PD that we're doing at school. Our teachers decided that, you know, we needed to improve ourselves in how we were going to work with our students. And so we focused on feedback. That was part of the feedback that we received from WASC, that we needed to provide to our students appropriate, actionable, and timely feedback to our students. So we decided to work on that, to educate ourselves on that. And with that, we have put a system of monitoring of the students, individual meeting with counselors, a graduation plan for all our students, case management, monitoring, and communication with parents and teachers. And then the decision-making grids, which I'm going to cover in a little bit. We have credit recovery plans, you know, for the students so that they can graduate with their cohort. We offer cyber high marathons during every break that we have, and we have embedded that as part of our schedule. We also have tutoring from our teachers, part of our assets program, and we have ingenuity, and we have summer school every year.
And so when we look at the 4-year, this is where President Cortese, when you mentioned the cohort, at Foothill, one of the things that even though the metrics are the same for us, and that's why we're going to look at them, the cohort does not include 5th-year or 6th-year graduates for us. And so one of the celebrations you'll see later on is our 27 first semester graduates that are 5th-year students, but those don't get included in our graduation rate. We're still going to do the work. We're still going to make sure that we do everything within our power, within the resources that you allocate towards us, and that we're doing our good deeds. And then you'll see like, wow, so you had more only 4th-year seniors. So if you look at 2021, 22, we had 105 4th-year seniors. And of those 37 graduates, so we had a 35.2% graduation rate. And then you look at 22, 23, we had 162. We had 46 graduates. Even though we had more graduates, our rate went down because we had more 4th-year seniors. And so the rate is really fluctuating on as how many seniors we have that are in the 4-year cohort. They started in 9th grade. This is their 4th year of high school. And how many of those did we graduate? And as you know, at Foothill, we have a year or two with our students during their 4-year cohort to help them get to the 4-year mark. And so, you know, it doesn't tell the whole story, but it's one of the metrics that we are measured on. So we are trying to continue to improve to see how we can accelerate our students being towards that 4-year graduation cohort. And so when you look at, we are continuing to use our graduation plans. Not only does our counselor with our students on routine, like 4 times a year, we also implement it on the classroom, that the classroom activities and the teachers are leading, reviewing the credits and how you're marching towards graduation. We continue to implement the transformational learning. You heard that about Foothill 2 years ago when we did our board presentation, and the collaboration with the School Fathers Network. And one of those foundational pieces is the cultural and the fact that our students come with resources, and as they walk through the door, they have everything within their power to be successful. As they walk through the door, we just have to guide them a little bit more and walk with them on their path. And then in special education, we have under my principalship, we have one special education class teacher, and they are co-taught in Math 1 with our teachers that are teaching Math 1. So all the students there take a co-taught Math 1 class if they are in need of that support. And then we increased our credit earning opportunities, or our CEOs, for all students. And that's one of those missions of acceleration. How are we going to get them to that next spot?
All right, so now we're going to look at our 1-year data and what is showing for our students, to see how on track they are for graduation. And so here, you remember that, we are graduating students at 91%. Yet, if you see looking at the chart for 9th grade, for instance, we are, as a 9th grader, that cohort is only 52%. 52% of our 9th graders are on track for graduation. And if you see the number for our multilingual students, it's only 40%, and our the percentage for our students that have IEP is 22%. That's at 9th grade. Now, if you look at the data for our 10th graders, the numbers go even lower. So at 10th grade, our students are not on track of graduation. We are at 36% for all students. We are at 22% for our multilingual, and we are at 20% for our students with IEP. Now, and at 11th grade, you see that there's a little bit of like, okay, people are perking up, realizing that, something needs to happen, or some of the actions that we're putting in place are starting to work. Not so much for our multilingual students, but you see also a little bit of a lift for our students that have individualized plans. What I want to highlight here is the work that we have done as a school, which is looking at our panorama data. And so when we pull that apart and we tease that apart, what we have found out is that the confidence of our students is not there. We have a population that, is not familiar sometimes with, how to navigate our system, and they're not confident about, whether they're going to be able to graduate from high school and whether they're going to go to college. So that's the area that we have to work on. We have to build the self-efficacy of our students, that confidence that they are going to make it. And so, and then you would think it's like, okay, so wait a minute, with those numbers, how is it that you are graduating 91% of your students if they were not on track? So here is what is happening here. As I said, our main goal is that we have to build the confidence of our students. But we have, for our non-grads that come from middle school, we have a freshman transition program. We want to thank the extra allocation that we received. Thank you very much to provide that. We also have embedded cyber high classes for our students so that they can recuperate. The minute that they already failed the class, they can start recuperating right away. So that's those are intervention programs that we have. We have serious one-on-one with students, notifications for parents. And we are also educating our parents, offering PICA classes. Actually, I would like to thank board member Lorena Chavez. She was the speaker at our PICA graduation. Thank you very much. And so So because our staff, we decided that we needed to work on our tier 1 interventions to build the self-confidence of our students. And so what we have been working is on, we all have welcoming routines and rituals. We have engaging pedagogy, and we work on an optimistic closure. That's something that we're all working across the board. And we protect our instructional time, those classroom avoiders, those little things that might distract our kids. We're working heavily on protecting our instructional time.
And now you come to Foothill High School. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do when all these interventions and everything that we've looked at? You can see that our cohort here, and those are the 35% and the 28% that you've seen before. You've seen our graduates, and then you're like, how are we going to improve this? So we have a mandate to do what's best for our community, and what's best for our community is that they graduate from high school. So we have individualized sessions for attendance improvement for every single one of our new families coming in. We have personal phone calls, home visits to re-engage positive attendance. So students that are hesitant to come, even though they've enrolled, we want to still engage them. They're still our kids, they're still our students. We still have the ability to make sure that we like have them grow during the time that they're with us. Focus on relation building in the classroom, getting grading period Mustang awards. We do them every 6 weeks, and bowl tickets. And you've heard about those many things that we're recognizing the positive contribution of students and recognizing in the classroom, in the community, in our school community. So we understand that, and they have an understanding that who they are is a success. We just have to translate that to an academic successful student. And then partial credits. It's a foundational piece about Foothill, and it restarts every grading period. So every single grading period, you start anew. And so if something happened a couple of weeks ago, this is your opportunity. And so we do call us home. We say, come on in, come back. We need you here so you can get your credits and we can have you move forward.
Okay, so now I would like to talk about what we are doing on a 6-week marking period, every marking period. First of all, I want to highlight the fact that at Mount Pleasant, we have a culture of transparency of grades. We share data with everybody. It's nothing hidden. Everybody can see the grade of every single student and every point of data. Our teachers work together analyzing this data in their PLCs and in collaboration. We have embedded time in our schedule, either in the morning or in the afternoon for additional collaboration time. And so we have PLCs and PDs going besides our weekly meetings. MTSS, we decided that we were going to create a decision-making grid. And that's what you see on the right. And that decision-making grid was built on precisely the second tenet of MTSS, which is to follow the progress of the student and make decisions and to change the instruction and create some interventions for the student. As you see, we have overarching questions there. It was how do we increase the self-efficacy of our students and what practices we can put in place to improve the outcomes of the students. We also use the anti-bias protocol of recognize, interrupt, and repair. So as our guidance, to do that work. And what we asked the teachers starting last year was to identify some students and then write everything that they knew about the student, find every information that they have, and then figure out how to interrupt that academic bleeding and put some interventions, in place. And then see how we can repair that, what modifications we could do to do that. This work that happens at individual level or at group level, and everybody can do a grid. Actually, our paraeducators, our counselors, everybody can do a grid in our school. So that is part of the work that we're doing every 6 weeks. And so I am very happy to say that, we have implemented that for the first semester. And we did that. We created our grid for the first grading period. We had a checkpoint, some point to see, how are things going? What else can we change? We did a second one on the grading period 2. We asked the teachers, okay, so if people they have progressed, then get some new ones and work on that second checkpoint and then final grade. And so I would like at this point to thank the fact that you approve our APTS. Thank you very much for that, because, in the past, when we started this work, it was pretty much, okay, figure out what to do. Here is your data and go work with it. And, but we didn't really have a person that would work on that, that would be the focus of their work. And so we're very thankful, for you guys approving the APTS, because that has allowed us to do a more intentional work in analyzing, and we have been able to look at our data and we able to quantify the progress that we have made so far. And, and also our APTS is working closely with MTSS to see, what groups, what intervention, what cohorts can we put in place to, to keep the work. So I am very happy to report, based on the work of our first semester, I want to show you the grids. The first one is what the teachers decided, what they chose. And so you see there were 232 students that teachers were working conscientiously and intentionally on. And so out of those, you see that at the end of the grading period 2, we had 45 Fs, and that was reduced to 32%. And the Ds, we increased the Ds. Now the Cs kind of stayed the same, right? So we were like, but the good news is that we're moving in the right direction and that we see that the concerted work, if we all work together for a cause, and we do it purposely, then we're going to make a difference and we're going to live up to our mission. So the good news or the best news is that when we looked at the data for the whole school, then we noticed that our Fs have come down, our Ds across have like stay the same, but our Cs are starting to go up. So that is actually results that are very encouraging and validating for our teachers and all the great work that they're doing, all the adults in our school that are committed, to keep working in group efficacy, which, has been we decided to do that even before, I became a principal, and that, to live to that mission of making a difference and preparing our students, for college and career.
I think that's a great segue into like Foothill High School in regards to like, so what are the data you're looking for and why are we focusing on attendance? We know that if when we looked at the all student data and it was all grades and attendance, we had about 66% of our kids that were considered at risk. Well, yes, of course they are. They're beautiful human beings that are going to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to ensure their graduation. And when we dug deeper, and this is what we know, the attendance is what matters. They need to show up. We need you to be here. And yes, we have a small population, but we need all of you here. And so when we dig deeper and you look at attendance only, you can see that it's it's only 50% of our kids that have at-risk behavior. And yes, we know that, and that's why we have all these things in place. But we want to let you know that it's not that we're dismissing the grades. The grades are important, but we have methods for them to, when they're there, to help them achieve their goals, but we need them to be there. So that's why we are severely focused on attendance. And it is to be expected, especially since all our schools are doing all these interventions, that when they come to us, yes, we have a different tier of a student coming to us and needing a different service or an additional service in addition to what they've been getting at the comprehensive school site. So we're focusing in on attendance and making sure that we have them come to our school and do earn the credits that they have. And so when you look at what we are embedding, right? You've heard about the grading period celebration. We also do classroom spirit competitions. So they understand this is your school. This is who we are and this is what we do. And that include like spirit days, little soccer tournaments, basketball tournaments, and all these spirit competitions. Classrooms, we have phone calls sold from teachers, staff, encouraging students to come to school. Encouraging students, it's not a negative. We want them here. You have a choice, they have a choice, and we'd like them to choose to come to school. Yes, we know it's mandated by law under 18 years, but we want them to make sure that they come. And then the new grading, you heard about the new grading period and new start every 6 weeks. Our counseling, we have one academic counselor and they contact with students in order to ensure that their graduation plan is in place, armed with a plan. Our superintendent has challenged us as administrators to make sure every single kid leaves with a plan. And for us, it includes students that are not planning at this point. Whatever their plan is, we want to support them, including their high school diploma. So armed with a plan. And that includes our teachers that are in collaboration, making sure that they're redoing the plan with them in the classroom environment as well. And of course, you're going to have a one-on-one meeting with me. I want to know I want to say hello to my kids. Their first interaction is a very positive one. We get to know each other. I get to talk about their grades. I get to talk about their goals and what do they want to do and what are they looking forward to? And looking at building our student success. Our students are successful. Imagine when they have to travel an hour to get to our school and they came. Maybe not on time, but they came. So they're rebuilding on their success. If they showed up and they hadn't shown up in the past, they've shown up. And their parent came with us. The parent answered a phone call and we're not blocked. We're good. We can navigate that and the students are being successful. So we're building on their success to see if we can translate that to more bigger successes in their life later on.
All right, so this is where we get to the point where we can share what we feel our successes and highlights, and at Mount Pleasant, we're very proud of our students. The increased voice of our students and their cultural expression. If you come and visit us, at any time, you will find the students dancing, preparing presentations, things like that, they're all over the school at any time of the day. That school seems to be, school, the kids they don't leave, you know, so. Another thing is the increased participation on field trips. We had a big field trip to college at the first semester. And also we have more planned for this semester. We also have field trips to different industry and companies, and we have companies, we've made arrangements for them also to come so that our students can see that there's people that look like them, you know, that are in the different companies that are hiring in the Valley, because, you know, that's what we have to build, that sense of, you know, self-efficacy and belonging. You belong in this Valley, you know, you belong in you know, in a community that, you know, you belong, you are there, and you can get a job in those companies. For our staff, I'm very proud to say that, you know, I have a wonderful staff, you know, that is committed to our group efficacy and keep focus, you know, it's to our school focus. And we have great adults working in the PLCs, professional development, and MTSS groups. You know, I'm really proud of that work, I have to say. So, you know, so as a community, our parents, you know, we have a big community potlucks. Our parents provide breakfast for finals twice a year. And we have classes for our parents. We had the first PK, and we are planning a second one in now in partnership with the Eastside Education Foundation from Silicon Valley Foundation. So, you know, so we have plenty of parent meetings and opportunities for them to be involved. And as the last thing I'm sharing is that we have an upcoming WASP visit. And yep, we are in the middle of construction. And so we will have a building coming up in the next couple of years.
And so now I get to share the successes with you. Contributing, our students are contributing every single day that they're on campus to a safe campus environment. And reduce the suburban girls. That's who we are. Safe campus environment. The perseverance, this is where, and I had 21, but we've now come for 27. 27 fifth year plus students graduated in the first semester. They just needed a little bit extra. And so the 27, even though they're not counted in my graduation rate, I want to let you know that's a student success. Their perseverance is unmatched. Staff successes come with common assurances about makeup work, safe spaces, partial credit. All those things are what my staff has at Foothill believes in about, and what we assure our students. Proactive interventions, friendly phone calls home. Ensuring that our students know, no, this is who you are. This is what I'm recognizing who you are. Campus successes. Let's talk about the fact that we just had a full WASP visit in September, and they loved us. Of course they loved us. Like, you know, it's a great campus. 0 fights, and I know like there's no wood right now, but 0 fights and 3 years of favorable safety responses in Panorama. This is what our community, staff, and students are reporting about what they feel about Foothill High School. Continuing partnerships with the Compadres Network and Transformational Learning School. And this is now my 5th year in as a principal, in my 4th year with the Transformational Learning. We are cementing that, and it's part of our culture, and you can feel it. And I believe the board members have visited Foothill High School. We have beautiful kids, and I know because they come from all over our district, but once they come here, you'll see all these successes visible within their actions.
Oh, our next step, we just continue the work. We continue to monitor and respond, you know, to the needs of our communities. And at this point, I want to thank you again. I want to thank, you know, also I think of one survivor over there. You know, one of our APs is in the Science Palooza, I think, and the other one is, you know, had small child, had to go home, but Mr. Pimentel stayed there. So thank you very much for that. And so if you have any questions for us, we'll be glad to answer at this point.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Presentation. Thank you.
For Mount Pleasant, could you turn the page, I think page 19 when Greek analysis?
Great.
Yeah. Wait,
This
for-
one?
I think
That one or the one before?
Before that, 13 or 14? 13 or 14. Yeah, this one. Okay. All right, for grade 10, compare with grade 11, you know, and grade 9, the number will be lower, right? On the track status. Did we find out why?
We find out why. Yes, self-efficacy, that's, you know, what, like, it's our panorama survey. You know, when you pull it apart and you start looking at, you know, how confident do you feel that you will pass your English class? Or how confident you feel that you will pass your math or your science class? And our students express that they don't feel that confident. And so, so that's the area that we need to work on, you know, is build that confidence. You know, we have students that, you know, our population, if you see, we have 70% are migrants, you know,
Yes,
first generation. They're the ones that they're walking this path for the first time. And so they don't know it still, or they, you know, have many questions that nobody can answer for them. We don't have the incidental, you know, learning that privilege brings, you know, to many of us. So that's the part that we have to work on, in building them up, you know, and we do that with, you know, one by one. I have to tell you, we have a counseling team, an adult team, you know, that they're fabulous. You know, they, one by one, you know, they start filling up all those little, you know, holes, if you may, or, you know, doubts. And I call them my quilters, you know, and to take them to graduation.
And just as a reminder, if you look at the dates, 2020, something very drastic happened across our country, you know, the world actually. And so just a reminder that there was a pandemic that had an impact from 2020 to then 2021. And then you see the uptick that shows kind of a return in how exactly what Dr. Rangel has just shared is starting to see that growth again.
Associate Superintendent Marquez, we see this phenomenon district-wide though, correct? With the kind of a 10th grade dip,
Absolutely.
as the number of core courses that they're taking in the 10th grade is higher than in 9th grade. And then you have 2 years in which if you haven't passed the class, you're now off track, right? And then we see a response in 11th grade just with credit recovery and maturity and people going, hey, I need to put this together. And then we tend to see senior levels higher than the 11th grade
Higher
level.
because of the gaps that were filled. And then, of course, you remember the assembly bills that were put in place in support of response to the pandemic.
But I have to thank Ed Services for really zeroing in on those 9th grade and 10th grade data points and say, let's get those numbers up early so we can make that difference.
Can I add something related to that
Yes, go ahead.
specific question? But before I even go there, I just want to say thank you so much. Like, there's just something about this presentation that just felt like, I can't even find words, but I can tell, like, in your essence, like all the hard work that y'all are doing, supporting your team, supporting the community, and the love and care that you have for our children. And so I just want to thank you. So, like, presentation set aside, I know y'all are working your hearts out and doing great work. So just, I have to say that.
No,
Claro que sí.
yeah, that's awesome. I really, you know, to look to the data, but to see the result, you know, from the percentage of this student has D, F, and C, it's really make a big difference, you know, and based on the data, we continue to drive and support our student from a different avenue, right? From PK, from after school program, or, you know, from a tutoring program.
Oh, hold on, but I haven't had my question. Sorry, sorry, I just wanted to preface that before I made my question. So, I thank you both superintendents and assistant superintendent for the context and the pandemic. That's huge. And I love that you're really honing in on the self-efficacy and using the 3 R's. I'm like, way to use your resources and like keep on, because that's just such an important skill aside from like using your resources. But that's besides the point. That's still not the point that I'm trying to make. My question is, as you've seen these trends, do you see like a specific subject area and a specific grade where you're like, oh, like when you think about A through G, math is like the barrier that we know is a thing for our kids, especially given that it sounds like at Mount Pleasant, like you're clear on like so many other gaps or needs that our kids have aside from that academic. Is there an additional academic gap or some other gap that you're like, this is it? I know self-efficacy because of the panorama survey, but does anything else stand out when you think about why those gaps like have been there?
Sure. I can tell you, if we look at our data, math 1 and biology 1 are the courses definitely that we need to work on, it amazes, and that's the reason why we are sending them on field trips. We need to take them to those places where things are happening, where they can see, what you do with math in real life and what you do, with science in real life, so that you can see yourself as a scientist or as a mathematician. We have a couple of programs, that are very successful, multimedia and animation, and they focus quite a bit on real life experience in competitions, so that kids get that, those experiences. And so I think that where we have to zero in is in that, in math and biology, and make sure that we build our kids to believe that they can, they can be mathematicians and biologists or scientists, so, and I know that, there is some maybe programmatic options that, we need to explore also, for our students in those areas, to make it more accessible as well.
Wonderful. I have one question for Noemi. How many students that you have for the 5th years as in your school?
We trend about 75. So that's what we trend. I
Oh.
mean, so if you ask me specifically, because if I don't count my 27 graduates right now, I went down to like 50. So we trend about 75 per year, 5th year seniors, or a few 6 years. And, that just need an extra little tiny bit, right? And so we've trend about 75.
So for the student who gonna stay for the 5th year or 6th year, they just have to recover all of those credit that they did not make it during their 4 years. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay, so you do have a program to support them separately, or you still gonna have the same, support for, the 11th grade or 12th grade?
Yeah, so they're in within our general population. They get an extra support in the fact that most of them are adults, and we have a young adult to adult conversations about their growth, and I check in a little bit more on them because there's growth that they're showing, and we need them to have growth in the 5th year. But they are in our regular program. They are part of our regular population. And it's a known for us that if a student wishes, they're automatically re-enrolled in the 5th year, should they still want to continue with their high school diploma. So we automatically enroll unless the student tells me that they want to opt out. Because we accept, so for example, we're accepting 2nd semester seniors now. And if they can't finish it within the semester, it's obvious that the plan is a 5-year plan. And that's what we arm them with. This is your plan. These are the options for acceleration. If you choose to, there's credit recovery, there's adult ed, there's all these things. But yes, we do trend 75, and they are within our regular comprehensive program at our school.
So do you have the reports that how many students that graduate at Foothill then attend college?
So our data on the 2nd year is including of our 5th year cohort. So it's included, so the graduates that you see there are our graduates, and that is included of the students that attend are included in the data that you received. I didn't exclude them. They are excluded only in the dashboard data because it's a 4-year cohort, but I did not exclude them in the data that you received. So I did, all those graduates, I did not exclude 5th years from there. So that includes 5th years.
Thank you. Both of you did a very wonderful presentation. Thank you for all your good work.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, before you go, I would like to thank Principal Reinhard and your staff. I think it was prior to the school year, we asked you to share with our other schools the practice that your staff had already started in identifying 5 students and turning those Fs into Ds and Fs into Cs. And it's a practice that other schools have adopted. So I want to thank you and your staff, who their direct intervention with students, we can see on that grid, is making a real difference in the lives of kids. And I do that already, and we're fine, to taking on something manageable that makes a difference, that really helps our learners. I want to thank you for that. And then Mr. Ramirez, I want to thank you. What's that? Okay, no, it's not like truly, or I should go over and let them know. But I love the point that you're pointing out that 3 years in a row with Panorama, the students say, I feel good here. And now saying, okay, you feel good here, let's be here. Because when you are here, we can do work together to make a difference. And so meeting them at that human level, I appreciate. And I thank you for saying, okay, we've met you now. We still see an opportunity for growth, and we're going to find new ways to positively respond. So I look forward to seeing what you and your staff do in finding new forms of response for students. Thank you.
Yes, I just wanna, I think that what you're referring to is page 19, if I remember correctly. I think it's moving the F to the D. The C stayed the same, but the number of F and D, you add them up together, is about 68%. But so what we did, what it seemed to me is successfully moving, reducing the number of F and then give them a D. So it's at least a passing grade.
Absolutely. And so it's great to see that, like, that all students and how much shift happened there at 2%, but that focused intervention with every teacher identifying the 5 made a change of 13%. That just shows us that direct targeted intervention makes a big, good step.
Okay, let's move along to 1301, presentation, discussion, and interaction regarding the 24-25 governor's January budget update. So I'll turn over to.
I think we skipped 1202, Madam
What did I
President.
just- Oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry. Putting my
So here's
glasses
the
on.
question.
Holy cow.
It is 8:30. Do we want to take a short break? We have two presentations, both pretty substantial. Do you want to take a short break and 5-minute break and then come back, recharge, ready to go? We promise you it'll happen when we come back.
I'm at a school board meeting. Yeah. Oops.
Right.
As we're about
Okay.
to resume the meeting.
Okay, welcome back. So in my spacey haste, I wanted to go back now to 1202, presentation and or discussion regarding ethnic studies. And so for this, I turn over to our Associate Superintendent of Educational Services, Teresa Marquez.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Madam President. Trustees, today, actually, this presentation will be conducted by our Director of Instructional Services, Marta Guerrero, and our Teacher on Special Assignment Subject Area Coordinator, Susan J. for Social Studies. And they're going to provide for you an update on where we are with our ethnic studies.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Vanderzee. Oh, there you are. There you are. Couldn't find you. We're here at your request. There was a request to provide an update around the new graduation requirement for ethnic studies. So that's what we'll be doing today. But like all our presentations, we anchor them in our obligation to ensure that we do not allow outside factors get in the way of our work so that we can keep the promise to the community that their students, if they are entrusted to us, will graduate college and career ready. And that when they leave, we will work hard to ensure that they leave with the skills they will need to be successful out in the world. And that's being communicators, critical thinkers, collaborators, creators, community members, powered with a plan to succeed once they leave us. Today's presentation is about ethnic studies. And as you learn more about what ethnic studies is as a course, the intent of the course, you will see parallels between the intent of the model curriculum written for ethnic studies and our equitable community statement. Ethnic studies course, the goal of it is to welcome all students as they are, to ensure we get to know them and support them socially, emotionally, their wellness needs and academic needs. And the course itself is to ensure that students leave us prepared to participate in the global society. Like all our presentations, it will be centered around our work as a system, not just a one-off task, but how we are approaching the work using a system lens. So we will start with policy like we always do. There is policy that guides our work around the creation of a course that will be the new graduation requirement for the state of California. So the first question is, which are the state of California or Ed Code policies or legislation that guides our work? We need to be knowledgeable of that before we get to work. So I'm going to take you on a little policy journey because I think we've been talking about ethnic studies for a long time. In 2016, an assembly bill was passed that tasked a commission to write the model curriculum for ethnic studies. If you remember our presentation around world languages a while back, we talked about the model curriculum for world languages that tells us what we must teach. So there was a commission was started to create the model curriculum for ethnic studies. Then we thought around 2020 that we would have a bill signed and to make the graduation requirement a new ethnic studies course. But at that point, it was vetoed by the governor because there was a lot of disagreement as to what was going to be in this model curriculum. Different groups disagreed with each other, so that bill was not signed by the governor. It wasn't until March 2021 that the State Board of Education finally approved the model curriculum for ethnic studies. And at the end of that year in October, that finally the graduation requirement of at least one semester of ethnic studies was signed by the governor. However, it left the door open for school districts to choose to offer a year at their discretion so that the first graduating class having ethnic studies as part of the requirement would be the graduating class of 2030. However, the expectation is that by the 25-26 school year, districts would offer the course in preparation for. So, more policy. Ethnic studies falls under social studies. But it is not your traditional social studies course, like world history or US history or government econ, where there are dates, there are facts, there are events, political events that are studied most of the time in chronological order, sometimes thematically. Ethnic studies is an interdisciplinary course. So it takes a little bit of history, but it must include literature, sociology, philosophy, political science, history, literature, because we look at specific events in time through a wider lens of everything that was happening at that time in the world that influenced those particular events. The field of ethnic studies, the goal of it is to empower students to be able to engage socially, politically, and to think critically. It reminded me of the statement that the principal of Foothill High School made about Mustangs take the reign. The goal of ethnic studies is for our students to learn how to take the reign of their lives once they leave us. Now, central to ethnic studies is the struggle of communities of color. So when we talk about who we are as a district and who makes up the Eastside Union High School District, it's important to remember that the majority of our students are students of color. Ethnic studies discusses and covers intersectionality of identity. So a specific gender, race, class, and how it all kind of works together so that when you look at somebody like me, you're not just seeing a woman, you're also seeing a Mexican woman. You're also seeing everything else that I bring as I stand here before you so that I'm not just one box. And at the core of the field is the study of race, ethnicity, indigeneity, and the experience of people of color in the United States. We have, it's looking at a course in a totally different way. The model curriculum of, for ethnic studies points to the benefits of an ethnic studies course. These are not my words. I took them directly from the model curriculum, and it talks about, I printed it so I wouldn't have to keep looking back. That if we take the time to create a well-taught course, that it will have positive outcomes as well as positive social outcomes for students, that the course will differ depending on the ethnic composition of the students in the class and in the community that we serve. Because the goal of the course is to take what students bring into the classroom and amplify it, as opposed to bringing something to the students and imposing it on them. It contributes to the sense of agency, the I can, I will, that the students need to have in order to be successful. It brings to a high school campus frameworks, theories, terms, and research methods that are normally only used in colleges. By studying about themselves and others, it can help reduce stereotype threats and add to the social emotional wellness of students, because the moment you see yourself reflected in the classroom and you learn about yourself, a sense of confidence comes in. And I think of particular interest for us, although all of them are of interest to us, is that it can impact some of those outcome data points that we look at regularly. Research tells us that a well thought out and implemented ethnic studies course can increase attendance, increase GPA, especially in math and science, and can increase graduation and college enrollment rates. And that comes directly from the state of California model curriculum for ethnic studies. In addition, there is a list of expected outcomes for if we teach K-12 ethnic studies, and the importance of teaching it because it can bring, because in teaching it, we can pursue justice and equity. We work towards greater inclusivity. We further self-understanding. We develop a better understanding of others. We recognize intersectionality. We promote self-empowerment for civic engagement. We support community focus, and we develop interpersonal communication. And as I was reading that, Our graduate profile came to mind because in order to do all those things, students need to be able to be communicators, critical thinkers, collaborators, creators, so that they can be productive community members with a plan to move forward. So in order to pursue justice and equity, you have to be a critical thinker. You have to be a communicator. You have to understand collaboration. You have to learn how to create new things from what we already have. So the parallel between what we want for our students and what the state of California wants for our students through the ethnic studies scores go hand in hand. We're still in policy. So here comes this new legislation that we will be teaching an ethnic studies course, that it will be a graduation requirement, but there's also a realization that it will be concentrating on ethnic groups that we don't normally talk about in the classroom. And because of that, there are no resources, lesson plans, textbooks, primary source documents that are readily available to teachers to be able to teach that. So the state of California, through Assembly Bill 167, authorized 3 different county offices of ed to research and create these documents that teachers will be able to use in their classroom. The Orange County Office of Ed was tasked with creating 3 different model curriculums, one for Cambodian, one for Hmong, and one for our Vietnamese American students, so that it will develop materials to teach the history, the culture, and the refugee experience of those 3 groups that are included in ethnic studies, but for whom we have very little to no resources. Humboldt County was tasked with creating the same curriculum for the 55 California tribes that are north of the Bay Area. And San Diego was tasked with creating curriculum for the 54 tribes in Southern Central California and the Bay Area. So we will be receiving, once their projects are done, and you can see the completion dates of the different projects, we will be able to receive lessons, resources, primary source documents, planning resources, as well as opportunities for professional development for the native tribes of the Bay Area, and if needed, Southern California, whatever best represents the students that are before us.
Quick question on that. How about the, Mexico and Central America, and is someone else doing that, or?
They chose the ethnic groups for which there is very little to no outside resources. So African-American studies, Chicano, Latino studies have been around there for many years at the university level. There's quite a number of resources that we can pull from, although we still have some work, and this is the reason Susan is with me. She's the content expert. We still would need to pull them into our classes, but for our for the ethnicities, Cambodian, Hmong, Vietnamese, and our indigenous tribes, there's very little to nothing.
Thank you.
Chinese.
We don't have Chinese.
No, not in here. Yeah.
So my understanding is it's not that it won't be available, it's that there's more information, right? So
Yes.
there's a lot more on Chinese, a lot more on like Mexicans, right? But those that they're focused on, there isn't any. So that's why we're.
And Asian is one of the ethnicities that is included in ethnic studies. One of the tasks that we are giving in creating a course is to ensure that we also take the time to see who's sitting in front of us in the classroom, who is part of our community. And if our Asian students at a particular school are more Chinese, there's more of them, we will also cover Hmong, Cambodian, Vietnamese, but also make sure we include Chinese because that's what speaks to the students. And it's about recognizing what students are bringing and putting it front and center, right? Valuing that.
So let me clarify a question. So if the majority of our students are Southeast Asian, like in a class, right? That I imagine ethnic studies in that course is going to be catered towards who they are, their background, the Southeast Asian background, versus if there's another class where there's a lot of Mexicans or a lot of Vietnamese or a lot of Chinese, it will vary. based on the students in that class?
There is curriculum we must cover. We must cover all 4 ethnic backgrounds: Asian, African American, Latino, Chicano, and Indigenous. We must. But in our lesson planning, we have the freedom to make sure that we bring in the experiences of those students in front of us to ensure that they feel that they're included, to validate where they come from, and to support that, to dismantle a lot of the stereotypes, right?
Yeah, because I also imagine that's part of it, right? For your background, for you to feel like it matters for you to learn about it. You said it so much more eloquently. I imagine that the framework will be set up so that educators are aware, the ones that are teaching this curriculum, pay attention what students' backgrounds are in your classes when you teach ethnic. Okay.
So in the area of policy still, this is a requirement that is funded by the state of California. They have appropriated funds to support the creation or expansion of ethnic studies courses. And these funds may be used for curriculum development, for instructional resources, professional development, or any other activity that uses the state ethnic studies model curriculum as a guide. And we have received about $558,000 as a district to help us with this work. We received it a little while ago. We have not used it. So now that we're ready, we will be presenting a plan to Dr. Hunton.
So that money we use for the books, material, or for professional development?
Professional development, resources, maybe not necessarily textbooks, because there may not be textbooks for a specific, for some of the content that we're covering. This is a brand new requirement, right? Our first graduating class will be in 29-30. So textbook companies are probably trying really hard to come up with a textbook that aligns to the model curriculum. The model curriculum really was not approved until 2021. So it probably will be a lot of primary resources, and a lot of professional development for teachers to be able to teach this interdisciplinary course. So if we move from policy to practice, we know what the policies are. What is our current practice? Where are we? What is getting done right now? What are we doing as a district to meet these requirements? Well, our district already has an ethnic studies course. In fact, we've had one in our catalog since the school year 2013-14, which is way prior to the model curriculum being published. So we do have one. It's a 1-year course. Kids get 10 credits for taking the course, and it is an elective course. It does not meet graduation requirements for world history, US, government, and econ. It's an elective, but it is a social studies elective. And teachers who teach it need a social studies credential. It is also a college prep course under G. And I know that you see a lot of stuff, so I put up the A through G requirements up there. When we talk about A through G, A is for history, and you see 2 little caps on the side, and that is because for admission to the university, you need 2 years. High school graduation, you need 3. For university admission, you need 2. B is English, 4 caps. Math, you have 3 required years, and the golden one is recommended. When the university says recommended, they mean required. Lab science, 2 years. And so you get all the way down to G. An additional year of A through F is considered a G. And then there are also G courses like ethnic studies that are interdisciplinary. So that course would cover the G requirement for the university, and does for our kids right now that we offer it. So we are offering, we currently offer ethnic studies at 7 of our schools. We have 21 classes this year across our district of ethnic studies. And if you look at the highlighted words in our district's course description, not the model curriculum language that I showed you earlier under policy, but our current course that was created for the school year 2013-14, you will see a lot of similarities. educate students to be politically, socially, economically conscious. Personal connections. How do students connect to the local and global histories that they will be studying? Histories of race, ethnicity, nationality, and culture. That the intent of the course is to cultivate respect and empathy for individuals, solidarity with groups of people, locally, nationally, and globally, as well as to foster engagement and community building. It is about studying the legacy of social movements and the mass struggle against injustice, to provide an emancipatory education, a liberatory education that will allow students to engage in self-determination and social justice. The intent of our current course is extremely similar to that, to the information in the course that is listed in the model curriculum.
Why Overfell has 10 section when other has 3, 2, and 1?
It is my understanding that they offer it to one of their grade levels. It's one of their ninth grade, yeah, that everybody takes it. They made a site decision. I think it's part of also the anti-racist work that Mr. Kiala mentioned a while back that they were engaged in, making sure that kids had access to the course. So that was an internal decision. Remember, it's still an elective. It's not mandated, but it was an internal school decision. So, thank you. So what are we doing? We're still in the practice piece. What is happening right now? About 3 years ago, our district entered into a partnership with San Jose State, in particular, the Institute for Emancipatory Education in the College of Education, to start training our upcoming student teachers, our new student teachers in social studies differently, because they knew that ethnic studies was coming as a requirement. And if this is how they're going to have to teach, how do we train the student teachers and the master teachers to start engaging in this work? This work eventually became a consortium. So we are now part of a consortium where we are the lead district, and Ms. Marquez is the lead person in the lead district for this consortium. But it also includes Mount Pleasant Elementary and Frack and McKinley. So whenever a San Jose State student wants to become a student teacher because they're interested in being a teacher, they place those students with teachers who agree to have them, but also participate in a year-long process of meetings, trainings, professional development to start shifting that lens from a traditional history class to an interdisciplinary course. So,
Ms. Guerrero, if I may just add one thing on this piece. The consortium received a grant from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. And so those teacher residents that come from San Jose State University, they actually, what we're asking them is to do a full year of student teaching as a residency, which means that they may not be able to work. And so the grant allows us to be able to pay their tuition as well as a living expense.
So it's for us every year, anywhere between 3 to 5, 3 to 6 student teachers and master teachers are part of this. The reason I'm bringing it up now, it's because it's the work we're currently doing and have been doing for 3 years in small pockets around professional development to teach the ethnic studies course. Another one of the changes in practice is we changed the FTE, the full-time status of our social studies subject area coordinator, who only had 2 periods a day for release up until last year, to make her a full-time release so she could be here at the district office, because there have been 2 legislations that have passed within the last couple of years, actually, that impact the work that she does. One of them, we talked about briefly when we presented about IPC and the new courses, that there is new legislation to ensure that our students with exceptional needs who are taught in a moderate to severe instructional setting, that they be in a pathway towards a diploma, which then meant we have to create new courses. And that includes new world history, new US history, and new government econ. And then AB 101, which is a new course, a new graduation requirement. So there is a lot of a lot of work that needs to happen, including professional development and course alignment with the model curriculum. So that is our current work. So we moved from policy to practice, and now we're in access. So what do we need to do to have full implementation, ensure success for our students, and give them access to this course the way that it's meant to be? Well, the first thing is we have some questions to answer. As you can imagine, anytime that a new graduation requirement comes around, parents, students, and teachers have questions. Wait, I have to take one more class? I only have 6 slots in my day. Will I have to give something up? So these are some of the questions. How is this new requirement going to impact the student schedules, the electives, performance courses, visual arts, music, CTE? How is it going to impact my magnet? And to kind of highlight what I'm talking about, I put the schedules. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped. Let me finish this one, and then you can go back. This is fine. So part of that is, I put the schedules. One more, boss? No, go down to 22, 21. They're interchangeable. No, right there, 22, yeah. And in order to highlight what I'm talking about, I have some schedules at the bottom. This is what our students' traditional schedules look like. There are 6 classes in their day. I have put in bold the required courses. We require 220 credits, but within those credits, there are actual courses they have to take, right? 4 years of English, 2 years of math, they're there. If I'm a freshman.
Can I just, as we're talking about this through the lens of ethnic studies, let's also remember this is what we were talking about in the Mount Pleasant, about why the 10th graders seem to drop the most because of the weight of the classes that they're taking. Whereas 11th and 12th graders, they can start to recover that and take other classes with electives. So you're seeing it right here in front of you, which is perfect. And now you can tell us how ethnic studies might fit into that.
So then the concern is, where am I going to fit this new course, right? If I'm a freshman and I take 4 courses in bold, which are the requirements, and I only get 2 electives, I want to take a world language and I want to take music. My spots are taken. I want to take a CTE course and I take band, or I take multimedia and band, or I take animation and construction. Am I going to have to give one of those up to take ethnic studies? What about the 10th grade year? I have only 1 elective. Is that where you're going to put ethnic studies? Am I going to have to give up world languages or music or CTE? You can see then the concerns of teachers and students and parents. It opens up, the schedule opens up 11th and 12th grade. And even then, English, US history. I want to go to college. I need a 3rd year of math. I need another year of science. 2 slots are taken. What about my world language? I want 4 years. What about my CTE course? What about my band? I want that sash at the end of the year because I was there for 4 years. Where does ethnic studies go? We need to still answer that question. Looking at the slide, the questions that you see there, the questions are all around, how does this impact me? How does it impact other courses? Which is one of the reasons that all the subject area coordinators and me read the model curriculum for ethnic studies so we could understand what the requirements of the course were, because we needed to start answering questions from concerned stakeholders. Questions like, will we be able to take 7 classes? And where are you going to put this course? So that's kind of still, we haven't figured that one out yet. Mr. Vanders, if you can go back to 18. Another one of the questions is, we're offering a course. We're done, right? What else do we need to do? And so I have Ms. Jays.
Good evening. I'm Susan Jay, Subject Area Coordinator for Social Studies. I spent 25 years at Independence High School teaching in social studies, multiple plus avid also while I was there. So I've taught, and when Ms. Guerrero talks about the interdisciplinary, and I've taught, all of the social studies plus psychology, some sociology. So it definitely incorporates a lot of what I've taught in my class, adding in the art, the music, and the languages that I think will really benefit our students. One of the quick things I wanted to say is kind of what ethnic studies means in a short, succinct paragraph. Ethnic studies is aimed at fostering a more inclusive and engaging learning environment. Ethnic studies plays a crucial role in promoting cultural awareness, breaking down stereotypes, and building bridges among diverse groups. By providing students with a platform to express themselves, to share their histories, we are contributing to a more inclusive educational system. And I think what we've seen in our country and in the world, that the idea of just talking about one ethnicity in a class is not really going to work. So when they look at the model curriculum, you can see that at a minimum, you have to cover these 4 groups, but we know that in front of us are multiple different people of color that we need to include into our discussion, into our classroom, into our lives. And I think that is going to be breaking the stereotypes, their personal stereotypes against themselves that they hear from the world, the outside, voices, and the stereotypes they have towards other groups that they've just heard, that we get from external voices. And I think that's where we're moving in that direction. And to answer that question earlier, it's not just going to be about one group because, oh, we only have Hispanic students in my class. No, we need to build those bridges and to make sure that you decrease the issues, some of the issues that we're having on campuses because of the fact, and a lot of it has to do with traditional stereotypes and breaking those down. So we do have a current ethnic studies course. It is taught from anywhere from the 9th to 12th grade. Overfelt does it as a freshman class, but then a lot of the other schools offer it anywhere from the 9th to 12th grade. As you can see from here, it is although we don't label the groups as the state does here specifically, we do in our assignments, in our practice, we just don't name them like they do, but we do touch on when I did have some conversations with the ethnic studies teachers in the last couple of weeks and asked them like, how do you cover these 4 groups in your class? And the one that they struggle with the most is the indigenous, because the content there is not as strong or as depth that we know the knowledge is not as depth. So we've talked to that. I did talk to Mr. Greg Van Holt from Evergreen, who actually had a couple indigenous people in his students in his class. They come back, they talk to him, they share their lives and their stories, and it gets all the other students really engaged and interested. And so I think that's one of the areas that I did put in for hopefully the San Diego. I've been doing a lot of work with San Diego Unified School District just on their webinars and because they tend to have a lot of stuff for me to follow and listen and to join in, and did put in for an application to join a cohort. I'll find out in a couple of weeks if I got in, hopefully, so I can get more information. If not, we'll figure it out. So I just wanted to say that we do offer these ethnic studies courses. It does cover these 4. Go to the next slide. And you can see here that our content standards and their major themes, identity, okay, what is ethnic studies, my story, so students' identity, and that's what we're really trying to get to, is engaging the students by letting them see themselves, not only just in a curriculum, but just letting them see themselves belonging and part of a world, part of a community, part of the school is huge in empowering them. The stereotypes, we use African-American stereotypes and resistance. Obviously, a lot of that comes from our history books. So it is a very history-based course. We do use historical facts. They do use history in it, but it's also making sure we're connecting the students to their history. Yes.
Is there room in the curriculum, you talk about addressing the students who are in front of you? Is there room in the curriculum to address students from the LGBTQ community?
Yes. Oh, most definitely. Yes, we do. That is part of the intersectionality in the fact of race, gender, and the marginalized groups. So it is included in the marginalized groups. Anybody who's marginalized is incorporated into the ethnic studies. So yes.
Would that include people with disabilities?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody who is in a marginalized group is included in ethnic studies. Historical Native Americans. So you can see that even though they don't match up a line perfectly, but we do cover everything that's already covered. We just need more depth of knowledge in content and creating that content for our teachers. So here's just some of the key assignments of comparison from our current course and the sampled assignments from the state course. No, that's fine. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. So, work that needs to be done. The comparison that Susan just shared with you, that Susan J shared with you to ensure that there's really, that we're following the model curriculum. So it may be that we need to tweak some our current course to ensure that we align to the model curriculum. We also have to wait for the completion of the model curriculum projects, which will be some of them this spring, some of them until 2025, to ensure that we embed those documents, lessons, primary resources into the course description. And so we believe that it says if needed in the slide, but it will most definitely be needed for us to revise the course description as well as the curriculum maps with the newer resources that are being offered to us by the state of California. 22, 23. So what are our next steps to ensure access? Our next steps. The first one is to create a work group of teachers to review the alignment between our course and that of the model curriculum, and to review the resources that we're using, which ones we still need, what textbooks are we using. Our textbook is outdated. We already know that because it's been around since 2013-14, so we will need a new one. We need to schedule community forums for our middle school students who will be impacted by this new graduation requirement. 7th graders next year will be 8th graders in 25, 26, when we should all be offering ethnic studies, but they will not be freshmen until 26, 27. So it gives us a little bit of time to prepare them, their families, and for us to prepare ourselves for their arrival. We need to gather input and feedback from various community partners. The model curriculum specifically calls out the need to engage with our Native American representatives in our community. Not to just go by what's given to us, but to engage our community to make sure that we honor their presence in our area for as long as they have been here. We also need to increase access to ethnic studies courses at all sites in preparation for the 25-26 requirement. The first freshman class who will have this requirement is in 26-27. We only have 2 years to ramp up the number of sections so that we can then conduct the professional development and preparation. So it's not a shock when we're there in 2 years. We will explore expanding our partnership with San Jose State if it's necessary for the professional development that they're currently providing to our student teachers and mentor teachers. How do we partner up? Do they have some resources we can use? Can they make referrals? Because this is new. It's new to all of us. It's new to our teachers. It's new to us. And we need to be able to have these very delicate conversations in some cases with respect, with an open mind, and ensure that our students respect each other in the process. We also need to create a professional development plan to ensure that all social studies teachers who will be teaching the course are prepared. An interesting conversation surfaced among our subject area coordinators, and that is, well, if you're adding a new course, will that mean that there will be fewer visual arts, world language, performing arts, CTE classes? Can we teach a performing arts ethnic studies? Can we teach a music ethnic studies? The model curriculum is very clear that in order to count for ethnic studies, the primary content and standards have to be those of ethnic studies. So if we have a visual arts class, the primary content and standards have to be those of visual arts. So we need to make sure that we keep ethnic studies as the primary content in the courses. However, we can definitely have the conversation about widening the lens of history in all of those courses. So that if we're learning music, are we bringing in composers or listening to music from our Native American groups, from our Latino, from our Hmong, Chinese cultures so that we honor them in a music class. If we're going to be talking about performing arts and theater, are we going to be looking at other plays than the traditional ones we normally look at? So there is a way to widen the lens without necessarily having it be an ethnic studies. The intent of ethnic studies can be embedded in all courses by having us review our current, it's not standards, it's content, it's choices we make in lesson planning to ensure that we are speaking to the students who are sitting in front of us and that we contribute to the breaking of stereotypes. We also need to begin planning for an ethnic studies course for our students in the alternate pathway to a diploma, our students who are in the moderate to severe instructional setting, because this will be a new graduation requirement for them as well. We need to explore alternatives to the ethnic studies course requirement. What can we offer that student when we're looking at a 6-period schedule who is in band and wants 4 years of band, who is in Spanish or French or Japanese or whatever course we're teaching and wants 4 years of that? Where are we going to fit ethnic studies? What are those other options we can provide those students so that they can get what they need here as part of the public education system without having to go pay for it elsewhere? Then we also need to assess the impact of the requirements on teacher credentialing, on the scheduling process, and eventually come to you with our plan. Present to you the plan for the district to meet the requirements of AB 101, which will then include a communication plan that will include our director of family engagement, and then making sure that everybody in our district knows, from the registrars to the counselors to the teachers, administrators, that we now have a new graduation requirement. We will need to update board policies, our information system as well, which currently doesn't have that requirement when it calculates graduation. And then all our district documents, all our mailers, everything that we have around graduation requirements will need to be updated. So we will be back once we've started the work to present to you. And any questions? Yes.
Katie, let's hear from you.
Hello, I do have one question. First of all, I think it's really important to have this class that discusses historic struggles of communities of colors. Our schools are really okay. I think that works, especially because our schools are really diverse. I think it would make many students more educated and empathetic towards many different ethnicities and events going on in the world. However, I am concerned though about how this class would fit into students' schedules. I think it's a very important class to have as a requirement as well, but worry about the feasibility of many students taking this class in the future. I myself was planning my senior schedule today and was considering taking ethnic studies. However, I have no space in my schedule because I want to take AP classes and I want the 4 years of band. So I was wondering, I saw a bullet point on Assembly Bill 101, I think it was, that said that it could be a requirement as a semester course or a full-length course. If it was a semester course, could this allow more students to take it if it was combined with like AP government to make it, to allow more students to take this course, or would it have to be implemented as a full 1 year?
The semester course is an option, and that's what we're trying to kind of figure out. We need to come up with different course options for students to meet the requirement. What that could possibly be, we're not there yet, but we do understand your concern.
Answer that really quick. AP government connects to economics, which is another mandated course to graduate. So you don't have a choice. But there are other options. So if, let's say you took AP Human Geography your freshman year, you'd have a lot of room in your schedule. You'd have another room in your schedule your sophomore year. So it's going to be navigating a lot of different paths to figure out what's best for each individual student, and then the opportunity of other places to take your courses.
Yeah, and I think to that point, one of the options that we're exploring also is our community colleges partnerships. And for students such as you that just don't have room, let's say in your schedule, the opportunity for you to take a course at a community college that would allow you to meet that graduation requirement potentially actually even doing a dual enrollment. So we're still in the exploration phase of that to figure out what's really going to be the best approach for all our students.
I think that's better because it's really hard to plan schedules and take all the classes you want at the same time. I had one other question. Is the learning instructional material, does it update with current like events of ethnic genocide and discuss those topics, or are we still using like the textbook from 2013?
For ethnic studies. So ethnic studies, it's a history course, but it's not a history course. So any course that says studies is curated materials from a lot of primary source documents. So for example, the new African American AP class there's no textbook for it. So we would curate materials that the teachers find appropriate to teach. Textbooks are more like survey, like just kind of background information. And if you have a really good teacher, they just use that as that. And then they implement a lot more primary and secondary sources for you, as you have probably in some of your AP classes in your history and world history. But that's the way ethnic studies is. There might be, right now we read Takaki's, oh my God, sorry, I'm blanking here. It's kind of a multicultural book instead of an ethnic studies book, but so more than likely we'll be looking at different textbooks and different resources to bring into the classroom that properly represents each group that we want to talk about.
So does that kind of like relate to what the teacher is teaching depends on the ethnic composition of the class? It's like curating these different.
So we would, as a group, we would curate all the materials necessary to teach about every single group that we see that is, that we come up with, that has been told to us that we have to teach, plus additional as to who's in front of us in our classroom. Because we want to make sure that everyone's learning about all different cultures, not just their, but it makes you that your personal culture and your personal experience is something that people learn about, and your path and your culture, your history, your connections to the community, to the area is what's really important, and your connection to that part of your history, and to share that with others so they can see how we're all integrated in the same. We just come from different places.
Thank you.
So that's kind of the theme. There is I get a lot of publishers now we have an ethnic studies book, and I'm just like, no, thank you. Because I know it's just going to be a history book, and that's not really what we want. We want more rich depth of experiences of real people.
Hello. Very exciting to to really see the presentation. I know that I'm the person that being pushed for this ethnic study presentation, and I'm so glad that finally we have this presentation. I really appreciate, Associate Superintendent Teresa Marcus, Director Marta Guru, and Subject Coordinator Suzanne. My question here is, we probably still have a lot of work to do, right? We have not finished it yet, but this is a framework, right? You just mentioned that in the next step, you create a work group to review the alignment of our East Union's high school and district course. Who belong to that work group? Is it?
That would be the current ethnic studies teachers.
Okay.
Because they have been the ones that have been teaching it and been integrated in the curriculum for the longest. So I would start there. I would start with my experts first.
All right.
Or my most seasoned teachers who have been teaching the courses.
Okay. Now, I think you mentioned about the middle school also will teach the ethnic study. Am I correct? Or only for high school?
What I mentioned was that we need to do reach out to the parents in the middle schools.
Okay.
To start letting them know that when their children come to high school, they will have an additional graduation requirement that maybe their cousins or their older brothers or sisters did not. So we need to start, once we have a little bit more information and we have more of a plan, to start rolling it out to the middle schools, starting with next year's 7th graders.
All right. So in excuse me, in 2025, 2026, that is the time that you roll for the ethnic study to all school site.
The requirement is that all districts offer ethnic studies by 25-26. As we look at the plan that our ninth graders are coming in 26-27, we really need to start thinking about making sure in this next 2 years that more schools offer it, so we can pull those teachers in to be part of the professional development, so that when they have to teach the course, they're not trying to learn how to teach the course at the same time for the requirement, right? We want to make sure we start getting ahead of it and start providing professional development before the actual date of our first group of ninth graders coming.
So in the ethnic study in Eastside, you will compose the curriculum from Orange County because they have a target completion day spring 2024. So we follow their curriculum, or how are we gonna really put them together for our Eastside?
Part of that is first of all, reviewing our current course description and curriculum map. The other one is looking at the resources that they have, so we can put together a set of resources teachers can use, but Susan can speak more to that.
Yeah, so what the Orange County office is doing is that they're actually concentrating on the Cambodian, Hmong, and Vietnamese, and then they will bring that material to everybody else. So the state kind of separated into different groups doing different, concentrating on the areas where there's not as much material available or not as much in the classrooms. So actually I did sign up for a Vietnamese that they're doing out of UC Berkeley for UC Santa Cruz, and then UC Irvine that they're doing for 2 days up in February, to kind of like a group session and a focus group to find out more of the materials they'll be using. So that was the purpose of that. So they kind of just, the state wanted to separate it and give different groups the opportunity to make sure, because that's where the majority of the people from those areas they have the materials for.
Yeah, I'm glad because the ethnic study program really helped our students to learn different ethnic, culture as well as history, because what they learn about history, they probably will not touch in depth, particular for all of those ethnic group. So I'm really glad to have that. And I was wondering that did you ever open to see that maybe we have some speaker from particular session that would talk about the history, in the time that from particular group that you're gonna include it in the ethnic study?
Yeah, I mean, that's an option for any history class that we teach or any course of having guest speakers come in. But the kind of which would be definitely augment the course. But the main purpose of the course is the students' application of their lives and their selves into the course. So it's very different. It's not a course where I'm going to sit up here and talk at you for 55 minutes. It's a course where we're going to talk together and you're going to share your experience and we're going to share our experience with each other. And that's how we learn. It's not about just being talked at and told to, but yes, definitely guest speakers who, depending on if a certain type of history you're talking about, and bring them in to share their experiences. Similar to what we do like the Holocaust or we do with women's history, and that same type of concept can take place. But it's really making sure that the application of the course is about the individual student and breaking down the stereotypes and learning about themselves and seeing themselves in their community.
Excellent. So if I'm gonna ask if I'd like to see some material about the ethnic study, because I want to learn myself, really, in order for me to talk with my niece, my grandniece, I want really to know so I can, encourage them, because this is some excellent, program that I think is the state really push, for all the students to look into that.
Oh, definitely. We'd be happy to share any materials that we get with you.
Thank you.
The work of the model curriculum projects tends to be public.
Mm.
It's all funded by public monies by the state of California. So there's an opportunity when it comes out for people other than the teachers who are teaching the course to be able to see it and get to review it.
So right now, you have all of this class have been taught the ethnic study already. So how do you gonna combine it, because you have some of the program that already implemented before the whole process here, working together?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of schools like San Francisco Unified has been teaching ethnic studies K through 12 for probably 10, 15 years. I mean, it's ethnic studies basically started at San Francisco State and has been picked up by UCLA. A lot of actually universities and state colleges have huge ethnic studies programs now. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to take what the state's telling us that their model curriculum is, matching it with our model curriculum. And that's where we'll use our seasoned teachers who have been teaching it and figure out what's missing, what we need to add, and then create the proper ethnic studies course for our district.
Awesome. Thank you. Good job.
Before I say thank you and I step away, I would like to thank Ms. Susan J. for being here today because she knew I was not going to be able to answer all the content related questions. And she gave up her birthday dinner with her family to be here today.
Happy birthday. Yes, so happy birthday to Miss Susan J.
Wow. That is dedication.
Yes, I was gonna say that just
Birthday
speaks
dinner.
to the dedication of our Ed Services team. You could see it here exemplified in Ms. Guerrero, our Director of Instructional Services, and Ms. J in Social Studies, who did give up her birthday today. So happy birthday, Ms. J. It's on the public record now.
It's
Happy
her
birthday.
It's her birthday and she gave the gift. That's not right.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. So let us move on then to 1301. This would be discussion action regarding the governor's budget update. Dr. Huntoon?
Thank you. Is there anything that needs to happen for timing?
We're going to go fast. And then we'll
Okay.
reevaluate at the end of your
do
presentation if
this.
we need to extend.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It was just a question. Well, good evening and thank you. And I will go fast. Okay. Okay.
You want to be the first to approve the governor's budget?
Yeah.
Careful
This-
now.
So this evening is a presentation of the 24-25 governor's budget. And so we start out, and just as a reminder, we are all aligned with our guiding principles, our vision and our mission. We're going to go to the next one, I believe. And so as we look at some of the themes that were in the governor's budget, we know that the state came out and they had a $38 billion deficit. And so that was due largely to the tax collections in the 2022 year, which was extended. We know that. There was also, an unprecedented funding that came in and in several years that helped with the COVID-19 and pandemic. And also we know that there was some differences between the governor's budget and the legislative analyst's office. And that continues to be a conversation by LAO, but also now questions are coming from legislators. Okay. So the good and the bad. And so as we look at Proposition 98, one of the themes and one of the comments coming from the governor was that Proposition 98, the correction and normalization of this budget. And so that was applied to different areas. And so as we look at Prop 98, the good news was between 1920 and 21-22, we had a significant financial investment that was helping with the pandemic to help to combat the impacts of the pandemic. Also, there was also the reserve that was, the state is in a better position because of the reserve. But again, remembering that the reserve is one-time money. And so then when we look at the bad news under Prop 98 is that we have a reduction in our funding due to the taxes by 26 billion, potentially impacting us. Well, it is going to impact us. The governor's solution to mitigate some of the shortfall is a little bit confusing at this point. I would say that once that we receive our trailer bill language, there will be more that comes out about what this proposal really entails. The trailer bill is required to be issued by February 1st. So within the next couple of weeks, we will see more details related to this proposal. So now as we look at the education budget itself, again, looking to the correction and the normalization, good news, bad news. The good news is that there is the proposals for cuts and deferrals related to the education budget. There are none. And I will say at this point in time, we still have some time to go with our hearings now that the legislators are going to do their work as they look at that proposal that was provided by the governor to the legislators. They will take a look at that. They will have hearings. And so that is a process that we are going through. The one-time funds that came through in 21, 22 over those multiple years, again, due to COVID. The bad news is we are in COLA only years. And so is that going to be enough as we look at the reductions in both 23, 24 as well as 24, 25? So now this is looking at, oh, and I got this handy dandy little, is it going to work? Do I have it on? No, let's try. Oh, there it is. Okay. So these are the three big taxes that we are always focused on when it comes to the budget. We have personal income tax, corporate tax, and sales and use. And so we are looking at the enacted budget in blue. The green and the purple is the LAO and governor's budget respectively. And we have the 3 years. And so as you look at those 2 out years as part of the budget process, then we see that there are significant lower budget than the enacted. So when you see these blue lines are up in both personal income tax as well as the corporate, you can see that those projections that are coming through for our 24, 25 and 25, 26, I'm sorry, the current year and next year, you can see that those projections are low in both of those. Now, as we look at the sales and use tax, we see that, again, the differences between LAO and the fiscal, that the sales and use tax, that in both of these out years, we see that the LAO is lower than pretty significantly than what the governor's budget is showing. And so these are the things that we will be watching and looking for as we go through the next several months, as we go into May. So what's not in the budget? Proposition 98 cuts as it relates to education. The deferrals, we are not seeing deferrals. Again, we're not to May yet. In the sweeps, we did have sweeps last year as we received funding, and then after that, we gave it with one and take it away with the other. So we are not seeing that in the budget at this point in time. Next, there we go. I'm going to focus on this one. I'm just going to focus on this chart on the bottom. So we see this is the enacted budget that came in, and we have years 24, 25 through 26, 27. And our January, which is the governor's budget at the top. And so that third line down is showing the decrease. So that's the differential between those two. You can see that it's a negative across the board. What I added here was the declining enrollment impact. And we've talked a little bit about this previously. And so what is that COLA to us at Eastside Union High School District? And so in 24, 25, based on a 0.76 COLA, to us, it's a negative 3.44. And in 25, 26, it's a negative 1.26. And then as we get to that third year out, it's a 0.54. So that just gives you kind of that impact. Again, at this point in time, what we know as it relates to the governor's budget. Okay. And so this is just showing you information as it relates to our district, our LCFF funding at $14,200 per ADA, and our ADA, this is funded ADA. Remember, we're utilizing that 3-year average. No year over year at this point. That's the benefit to us. We're at almost 20,000, but we have dipped down into the 19,000 range. And then the 281 million as it relates to the total LCFF funding for that. This is just showing you that there are some programs that are receiving the COLA, the 0.76. And for us, it's going to be, this is really hard to see, child nutrition, the mandated block grant, special ed, So those are the ones that we are receiving here in this district, and so they will receive a COLA. Okay, excellent. And this is just financial projections. And so from school services, so last week, myself and Sylvia Palaio, we did go to School Services of California and attended their governor's workshop. And so the information that we're receiving was from the workshop, so that we're sharing that with you today. All I'm going to say is you can see with the COLAs, it's gone pretty significantly down from where we are in the current year. We see flat on our STRS expenditure, but as we look at our CalPERS rate, it's increasing. We're also seeing some flatlining of our California lottery, but remember that it is based on sales, and so that it does tend to go up and down. Okay. So one other thing that we are also paying attention to very closely, myself and my colleague, is from HR. We are watching the minimum wage. So the minimum wage is increasing, and so we have to look at that as it relates to our salary schedules and making sure that we are staying above and meeting for compliance purposes. Okay. Okay, so our road ahead, again, that deficit at the state level and how that's going to impact us, because at this point in time, we're not seeing significant reductions. And again, I think the next couple of months is going to give us a bit clearer. And then, so at this point, the process is really going to be moving from the governor based on that proposal, moves to the legislators. They then go through their process of their hearings. And so they will be getting that feedback and input before we get to May revise. So that's our next checkpoint, that we will look at May revise, and that's what we're building our budget for the 24-25 year, because of course, at that point in time, we're finalizing our budget, and the enacted budget has not been completed yet at the state level. I hope that was fast enough. Okay. I think I'm done. Oh, this is enrollment. We will update this again. This has not been updated. The one piece I will say here is that if we were funded on the year over year, we would have $17 million less than what we are receiving right now. The 3-year average provides that additional funding to us. Okay, next. Oh yeah, this one's an important one. And so we did some quick, well, I don't know what happened in that one column. That looks a little strange. Oh, okay. In any event, 24, 25, 25, 26, that's where we're going to focus. The impact to us between our first interim, which was just last month, and now we went from a 1.48 COLA to a 0.76 COLA. So it reduced. It was about a $600,000 reduction to us as it relates to our revenue. So we did a very quick. So when you see second interim, it's going to look different than this, but we wanted to see what we were looking at. And then on the total expenditures, the one thing that also has changed since December was that we got word that our health benefits are going up by 22%. And so we factored that into our expenses. That was about a $5 million increase in both the 24-25 and 25-26. And then what that's doing to our bottom line is taking it from the 44 million to a 51.5 million. Again, this is rough, but I wanted to be able to provide something this evening as it relates to the impacts here at Eastside. But at second interim, you will see those updates that we've had more time to mull through the numbers. Now I believe I'm done. Thank you. Questions?
Madam President, I have to leave, and I just want to make a comment. One is, one of your earlier slides indicated that the governor was proposing to do X, Y, and Z. It wasn't clear how that was supposed to be done. And I have a lot of confidence that Gavin Newsom is a policy wonk. If he didn't already know how that was going to be achieved, he wouldn't do it. And so I have total confidence that it's going to work coming out. The other is that it's considerably less catastrophic than the initial, you know, forecasting that based on what we knew, a month ago. And I think it's going to keep getting better. As I said last time, this is an election year and people are going to find a way to, do well by their constituents and defer problems or kick them down the road by another year. So that's on that. And because I just need to get back with my mother, I was supposed to be back at 9:30. So please record me under board member comments as expressing concern for the issues that were described in physical education, the safety needs of our fields, the heating and air conditioning needs of our gymnasiums. Those give me a lot of concern. And I would like, just speaking as one member of the board, I would like the administration to respond to that as an agendized item, not necessarily have all the solutions, but I want public comment on that from the administration so that we're on it. Thank you, and I apologize that I have to leave.
Thank you. More comments?
Yeah,
Great.
question. Michelle,
Yes.
on the page, multi-year projection combined, what, you mentioned about the total revenue in 2023, 24, 367.7 million. And 24, 25, it went down to 339.2. Is that because declining enrollment? That's all. How do you estimate it 339?
Oh, the reduction?
Yes.
Yes. So what is happening is because now we're on a 3-year average, and as we move out of those COVID years, it is going down and it is impacting us. Yes.
Oh, I see. And it's going to continue to go down 25, 26 projected budget, right? Now, the total expenditure in here say including transfer. I saw the notice here, district required funding for negative ending fund, total 51.1 million. Could you elaborate that for me? So I still did not understand.
So in order to cover the negative ending fund balance,
Okay.
our economic uncertainty of 11.8. And also, and I'm not remembering, I think it's 7 million on restricted funds. So that's what comes up to that.
Oh, that's come out to 51.1.
Yes.
Okay. So that means that at the third year, we are in the hole for 32.6 million. That's the 25, 26, correct?
25, 26 is a 51.
Yeah, that's the ending fund balance.
Well, it's actually a 32, but all of the requirements that we have to cover
Is 51.
is 51, right?
All right. Okay. Thank you. That's why I was confused. I'm not sure. Thanks for clarification.
You're welcome.
Can you elaborate on the 22% increase in medical benefit costs and specifically how much that dollar amount on that particular element?
So it was, so it's about a $5 million increase over what we had originally included in the budget. So, and I don't remember what the percentage was initially. Maybe Tom knows what it was initially. And so that was literally information that we just received like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Right, that's the preliminary proposed number. We're still in final negotiations with our providers, where we find out the finalized number.
Is the 22% increase is their new proposed number if we maintain the same benefit level? Am I correct?
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the final number that we will end up because there's negotiations and there's alternative options beside the one carrier that we are looking at. Am I understanding correctly, or there's more to be?
Correct, it hasn't been finalized yet. It is their initial proposal.
And this is typically the time of year that we receive that information.
We do negotiate. It's not as if they give us a 22%, we're like, okay, thank you, and here's your money.
I will,
So,
yeah,
as far
go
as
ahead.
with benefits wise, with our provider, I mean, there's a little bit of negotiations, but there's not really much to negotiate. They can give us the terms and we pretty much have to accept the terms unless we want to move to another provider.
Right, understood. But this is about approximately $5 million more than what you presented to us as the last December, right.
And one thing that I did hear today, that it sounds like that 22% number is coming from other districts that are using a different provider.
All right, thank you very much for the update. It's good to know. Okay, colleagues, we need to take a look at how long it's going to take us to get through our remaining items. We can extend our board meeting through a vote one time. Should we say 10:15 and just be done before that? Well, our bylaws, our board policy requires that we state a time, but we can extend the meeting one time. Okay,
Should we,
10:15?
we say like 10:30, but with the goal of 10:15, just so that we don't have
That
to.
sounds fine.
Is that too much? No. No.
Okay, we're gonna
I'm-
say 10:30, but we're gonna be done by 10:10 because
Yes.
no one wants to be here till 10:30.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, I need a motion.
Move so that we extend till 10:30.
Okay, I heard a motion by Chavez, a second by Lay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. She's right in my ear. Okay. All right, let us move on then. 1302, this is standard contracts over 25,000. I'm just looking for a motion or discussion.
For approval.
Okay, clearly, motion by Chavez, second by Lay. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, and we lost Katie, right? Okay.
She already left.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. 1401, this is a contract for our Associate Superintendent of Business Services, Mr. Nguyen. No, okay, that's right. This is just okay. Just give us like 30 seconds on what this is.
Sure, thank you, Madam President. This is a contract, employment contract for our very own Dr. Huntoon. It's commencing July 2024 of this year.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I had a motion here. Okay, and a second.
Second.
Chavez?
Or whoever, any of us.
I didn't hear either one of you. Who
Yes.
gave the motion?
Whose motion?
Me.
Brian moved.
Me. I second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Doe, second by Chavez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. And then similarly is the,
Similarly, for a 3-year term for our senior manager of the bond program, Mr. Julio Lucas.
Move approval. Move by Lay, second by Doe.
all right, we're going with that. Moved by Lang, second by Doe. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. And 1403,
And finally, for Ms. Kelly Kwong for a 3-year commencing July 2024.
okay.
Second.
Okay, moved by Doe, second by Lay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Okay, 1501, standard, this is contracts over 50,000. I just need a motion. Okay, motion by Doe, second by Chavez. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. 1502. Discussion and or action to approve the use of funds available for bond projects for Measure Z without changes to site allocation for district-wide infrastructure projects. This needs 30 seconds, 1 minute, just so people know what this is, Dr. Huntoon.
You want to take it or shall I? Okay, every site was allocated funds for Measure Z. Monies are then drawn down. If there's not planned projects for those monies drawn down and we don't spend those monies, then we can receive fees. And the allocation would shrink because of the fees that are paid out from the allocated funds. So we're going to use some funds that does not take away from the allocation from James Lick. They will stay with the monies that we are saying will go to James Lick from Measure Z. But because there's not a project in place right now, we need to utilize those dollars in the short term for other projects across the district. The next drawdown for Z is in 2025, which is just a year away. And so that if a major project is identified and we get to work on that, we'll be able to draw down the funds at that time. But in no way are dollars being taken away from James Lake. And just as an aside, if there is a move to fencing that needs to be done at the site this year or during the summer, we'd be able to utilize funds for that as well.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Just looking for a motion. Okay, moved by Chavez, second by Doe. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. Now we're just at the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved by Chavez, second by Lay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous too. All right, moving ahead to written reports. I don't see any. Future agenda items?
We noted those from trustee Herrera, so.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
I'd like to request for us to have an evaluation studies for the board, for the role of our internal auditor. There's some questions that arise during the audit committee meetings and conversations. And I think it's important for the entire board to discuss it rather than just board chair Lay and I.
Wait, so what's the,
So I'll reach out to you to get a more exact definite.
Perfect.
I'm
Understood.
getting the
Agreed.
general sense, but.
Yeah.
that's perfect.
That's
Okay.
perfect.
All right. Wow. Great. We are at 23:01. This is just comments from board members. So I will start with my left with Member Chavez. Member Lay.
Well, I have to say that last week I attended the CalSOAP and FAFSA at James Lake is very, very important. And I feel that, you know, our East Side student deserve it. That's a press conference that Superintendent Glenn Vandazzi and all the elected officials attended. So I'm very proud. And also Sergio was there. So I think it's very good for our student to have the applications being revised. So we're gonna have to continue to support our student. And this morning I attend the what the car is for the new ball field of YB, the grand opening. I can say that how much joy that the student, you know, been playing and the soccer and as well as the baseball. It is really wonderful to see YB has the first new ball field. My last things I want to say that because we don't have any other meeting until February 15, so I want to say Happy New Year to everyone, to all administrator, teachers, staff, because our New Year's, Vietnamese New Year will fall on Saturday, February 10. So I would like to invite everyone, if you have time, to stop by to attend the flag ceremony on the first day of Vietnamese New Year, February 10, 2024, at the County 70 West Heading from 11:30 to 3:30. And I know that all the board member, and including superintendent, also received the invitation. I want to extend all to Associate Superintendent, Michelle Hunton, Teresa Marcus, and Tom Wynn, and everyone, if you have time, stop by to have a little bit of flavor of New Year, because I didn't see anyone organized this year at Eastside. So I want to extend that invitation to everyone to stop by at the 70 West Heading at the county on the first day of New Year. We can say Happy New Year, and everything will be good. Good luck for everyone. Thank you. 11:30 to 3:30. Thank you.
Member Doe?
Let's do something similar at East Side, shall we? But thank you and have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
I'll just say Chuk Mong Nam Moi. And that'll be my remarks tonight for Superintendent.
Thanks for everyone not just being at that press conference, for setting it up. The FAFSA, key for our students getting financial aid and making college an opportunity for them, has been redesigned. It's much simpler than it was before. There's still some, complicated parts. But we do have Cash for College available. Be looking for information from that for families and students to be able to get real-time support in filling those forms out and making college a reality. We also have the CADA. And so documented or undocumented, there are resources and financial supports for you. It was great to see people from the state, the county, the city, all there, getting the word out and helping us message that grade 13 is definitely a possibility and that there are resources to fund that within our state and from the federal government. So thanks for everybody who put that together, and thanks for everybody who's doing good work in the center and the rain.
Awesome. Okay, now we just need to hear from legal counsel regarding the discussions in closed session. Report out.
Good evening. Closed session item 2.02, student expulsions. In the matter of student 23-24-005, the board unanimously approves the expulsion of that student as recommended and as modified. In the matter of student 23-24-006, the board unanimously approves the suspended expulsion for that student. In the matter of student 23-24-007, the board unanimously approves the stipulated expulsion agreement to expulsion as to that student. There are no other actions to report.
Thank you, counsel. Our next meeting will be February 15th, and with that, our meeting is adjourned.